Dang, that was a fast live. That was the fastest going live has ever worked
We
when we clicked
we
the
need
button.
the dude, Alejandro had the thing with the countdown. We need that.
We had the countdown, but I don't like using it. So we're just in it. We're just live right now. So what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Think Big Podcast. This is episode 101. If you are brand new to the channel, welcome. We love to see new faces. In fact, drop in the comments where you're coming in from and how you found out about the Think Big Podcast. I'm excited for tonight because we decided last week, for having crossed this iconic landmark of a deal of 101 or really 100 episodes, and now being fully into the triple digits of episodes of how many podcasts we've done, we decided that we're going to make tonight a live Q&A. And so many of you've been submitting questions to both Sam and I on Instagram. You've been DMing us, so we're going to be going through some of those questions live on Instagram. In fact, some of you are with me live on Instagram right now, and if you're live on Instagram right now, I make it super easy for you to get over to the YouTube stream by commenting the word YouTube. So if you comment the word YouTube and you're on the Instagram stream right now, you'll get plugged over into our YouTube stream where we'll actually be able to bring your questions up live on the screen. We'll be able to get your names and faces up on the screen, like Simon G saying, "What's up?" And we got David Smith in the house saying, "Let's go." Shout out to David Smith building his welding company. He consistently has been hitting over the 5-figure mark of $10,000 and $15,000 per month in revenue coming into that business. So shout out to David Smith. Was talking to him a couple of days ago. And Sam, I'm just excited about tonight because not only are we going to be doing Q&As, diving into your business and your personal challenges, we're also doing some giveaways because we've been really blessed in our lives and we've been given a lot of value through mentors, through education, through opportunity, through what some people will call luck, some people will call grace, some people call God, whatever you want to call it. We've been very blessed and we want to pass those blessings on. I believe that the reason we ever receive things is so that things can come through us to the next person, and we're supposed to pass it on forward. And so Sam's got some crazy dope giveaways that if you stick around till the end, we'll be announcing the winners. I think, are we going to announce the winners live on here tonight? Like what's the game plan there?
I think we'll feel it out. We may have to do it live. I think that's always the fun way to do it. But regardless, it's going to happen tonight. And can I take a moment to talk about what we're going to be giving away? Because it's kind of important to me.
Let's make it happen. Let's talk about it a little bit here.
Okay, sweet. So you mentioned this. The reality is you and I have won giveaways. We've both been blessed by other people who are ahead of us in the game, who've always sought to get ahead and then reach a hand back out and pull us up, right? And the first big giveaway that I'm a guy who's like, my entire life, there's always people that say like, I've never won anything, right? Like I was always that guy until one of our good mentors and friends, Pace Morby, I was the first person he ever gave an iPhone to, but like before it was like a thing to give away iPhones.
I remember that.
Funny enough, that was it was weird because you don't think it's a phone would change your life, but if you actually go back and like timestamp my journey from the moment of me getting that to like my net worth, it was like like the dominoes started falling from there. And so what I'm really adamant about is I only want to give away things that actually matter and can be applicable. You know me, I like giving away things that are tactical and implementable and can actually change your life by changing your freaking bank account. And not by like giving away $100 or $500, but giving away something that's potentially more powerful. And so what we're going to be doing today is someone that you and I look up to tremendously. Is a guy by the name of Alex Hormozi. Some of you guys may know him as Buff Business Jesus. That's what I kind of personally call him in my life. And the reality is Marlon knows this about me. He knows that I hate reading. Like I know we're in the world of entrepreneurship where everyone likes to freaking read. I will still die on this hill, bro, where I think 99% of people who say their journey started with Rich Dad, Poor Dad are full of crap just because like you guys – half the people who DM me, they'll DM me the same question over and over and over again. I'm like, if you couldn't get that, you're not reading a book. But I love books that are implementable and are action strategies. And so without further ado, this book right here, guys, Alex Hormozi's 100 Million Leads. If you have a service business or a TC business, or you're trying to get into lending and scale that, heck, even if you're wholesaling or flipping houses, whatever the heck you're doing, or you're running Gator especially, this is super implementable to everything that any type of business there is, any format. And how do I know this? We took one micro strategy from this book, just one micro strategy. And in the last month, Marlon knows this because I absolutely destroy our text message thread with screenshots of my Stripe account. And one micro strategy from that book this past month made a portfolio business of mine $117,000 in 30 days. And it literally just resulted in yesterday being the highest single day we did near $25,000 in sales in one day, all from implementing one simple strategy from here. So what I'm going to be doing today is I'm not going to be giving away one of these. I'm actually going to be giving away 3. Now, Marlon, I only want to make sure we give, because knowledge is power, right? I'm a firm believer of that at the end of the day. I want to make sure that we give it to the right people who deserve it. And these are going to be people who, we're going to give you guys some requirements later on when it's about time. But the reality is, we want to give it to people who we think will take action on it. And the reality is this: when we look at people who are going to show up and show out, they're the people who are also engaged in the chat. They're the people who, when the time comes to raise their hands and ask a question, they raise their hands and ask a freaking question, right? When the mic is in front of them, they don't shy away from the limelight and take a step back because it's easy to be in the background. They hold the line. And those are the people, in my opinion, if I give you a guidebook to go and make $100 million, I think you might actually be one of the people that can actually perform on it. So that's about it, man. That's about it for today on the giveaway.
So, I mean, I'm excited about the giveaway. And so if you weren't paying attention, the giveaway, essentially what Sam is saying is the giveaway is going to action takers. And so we're paying attention heavily to the chat today. And at the end of this, I'm going to be giving homework out for you to be able to win. But I'm going to give some of you a heads up on what that homework is. First off, you're going to need to be subscribed to our YouTube channels and following us on Instagram. Right? I think that's going to be pretty fair because we want to make sure you're utilizing the information and that you have the resources and support to be able to implement the information. And how else am I going to be able to support you is if you don't even follow us and you're not connected to us. So we want to make sure that you have a lifeline of connection to us for the future when you run into roadblocks. As you're engaging tonight, ask your questions. This will be a live Q&A. I know I've got plenty of questions in my IG chat, so you guys are going to see throughout the night. I'm going to be looking down, not because I don't want to look at you guys, but because I want to be able to read the questions you got coming in, things on the Instagram, things inside the comments, and we are going to prioritize people who are live on the YouTube. So if you're asking questions on Instagram right now, come over to the YouTube. We're going to prioritize those questions first as we get into that. So Sam, I know you've got some questions. I'm going to pull up some questions that I had from earlier. If you already got a question loaded, let me know, but I'm going to pull one up right now.
No, I'll start with yours, man.
Cool. Getting over to it.
Yeah, I got to say, man, a lot of people do Q&As. I don't think many people can do Q&As like you and I do, because it's like, I'm all about strategy. You're all about mindset, and there's a lot of overlap there. But I think our answers tend to be pretty goddamn filthy.
Ooh, all right. So I got a question here, and this question comes in from Deborah Hoffman. It's on IG. She sent this to me earlier in my DMs, and she asked, when should you consider working under a mentor versus going at real estate alone? That's a great question. When should you consider working under a mentor versus going at real estate alone? And so this is going to be a question, obviously, coming from someone who's newer to real estate. And Sam, what would you say for that when you're looking at when a person is getting into the industry? Maybe they've dabbled with information, they've been on Bigger Pockets and possibly even signed up for like a course. So they've got the resources as far as the pieces of the puzzle laid out there. When should they think to themselves, all right, it's time for me to be like a one-man show or a one-woman show? Or when should I go and basically fly under somebody else's flag before separating?
Okay, I dig this. I'm gonna have this because I like moving around. This is dope. I think it comes down to a few things. I think fundamentally, it's always going to come down to this. In the beginning, you're going to usually have more time and energy than you have money that's like by and large the truth. And that usually stands in this space, in this industry, because most people get in this industry to learn how to make money. By default means you typically don't have any. And in that case, I would say that's like the best time to start working for someone else, whether it's a mentor or like a guru mentor, or it's a mentor in your local community who's just crushing deals and they've got a scaled business. But I think that the time comes to, when's that tipping off point, right? When do we go it alone and take that scary kind of jump and that leap? I think it's an extremely difficult answer to give in terms of like a hard answer. And I don't want to give anyone a hard answer because it may not be applicable to you. And so what's going to happen is some degree of self-awareness and discernment that comes into play when you've worked for the man, right? You've worked for whoever the mentor is, and you've gotten to a point where you've made some money. Now, I think Marlon and I agree, maybe 6 to 8 months of, cash reserves for your bills and then a safety net, right? Because stuff happens in life, right? You got to pay the bills, you got to feed the kids, you got to do all the things. So minimum 6 to 8 months, I would say, at least in a cash reserves. I like to be a little bit safer, especially if you have kids. If you were like me when I got started and you're just, by yourself with your dogs, not that big of a deal. You can maybe play it a little bit more aggressively. But regardless, have the cash reserves in place. Here's the real question. Do you have the knowledge and the competency to go on your own? That's the real thing. Because a lot of people, what they do is they go work for someone for like a month or 2 months and think they know it all, and they jump off the ship and they realize, holy crap, I'm not getting deals, I'm not getting traction because I didn't know a damn thing to begin with, and it's because I jumped ship too early. So in my opinion, and I always say this, guys, there's 6 core components in a business, right? There's marketing, there's product service, marketing, sales, HR/legal, finance, and fulfillment. I messed up the order, but those are the 6. And so the reality is, if it's a lending business, do you know the core components of a lending business before you decide to branch off on your own and take a risk? Like everything else in life, it is how risk tolerant are you? And so if you go work for someone and all they have you doing is cold calling, and you get really freaking good at cold calling, but you don't know how to close, you don't know how to TC, you don't know how to find buyers, you don't know how to optimize a CRM or a dialer system or do call reviews, I'm going to be honest, no matter how much money you've made with them, you're going to have a very tough time branching off on your own because you jumped ship too early. So it's not just, do we have the cash reserves? Do we have the knowledge reserves? Have we paid down enough of the ignorance debt to get traction on our own? So that's going to be my general answer to that.
And I'll agree with what Sam said there. And I'll add this caveat, right? Like as a case study, Jeff Bezos, the founder of Amazon, if you've ever read his biography, I know Sam doesn't read, I do. If you've read Jeff Bezos's biography, what you'll discover is Jeff knew he was going to grow something large, something massive. He knew he had Amazon planted in his mind. And even at the time of incepting the idea, he decided that the best thing for him to do would be from college to go and actually intern with some of the largest corporations and organizations that he could find, where they were still in a startup phase, but they had a very strong founder that he understood. If I go and I join this startup phase with that strong founder as a leader, I will be able to essentially see all the pitfalls that I'm going to eventually and inevitably run into and learn how to overcome them on somebody else's dime. And so depending on what you want to grow and what your risk tolerance is, I would say you go inside of someone else's organization for the sake of being able to learn on someone else's dollar. If you've got a very high risk tolerance and you are absolutely committed, you're going to be successful no matter what you do. However, if you want to shorten the time gap that it takes to get from here to there, and you can find a solid operator or at least somebody who has enough money and very little oversight on your behavior that they'll allow you to go and experiment, then I would look for that form of opportunity, either a proven operator or somebody who has a budget and doesn't care how you spend. So let's move on to question 2. Did we answer question number 1? Deborah, if you're hanging out live on YouTube too, let us know if we answered that question for you. If we didn't, or if you still need some explanation, let us know in the comments and we'll come back to it. I want to prioritize some of the YouTube questions. We got Ivan. Shout out to Ivan. He came on a couple of weeks back, and he and I did a one-on-one when Sam was gone from the episode. I think you were out sick that day. But Ivan says, what sort of attributes and history does an entrepreneur need to have before they can reasonably approach other entrepreneurs to invest in their business slash investments? This is such a freaking good question because one, I don't actually know what Sam's answer is going to be, and I could share with you what my experience has been with this. So as far as history, right? And when you say history, I'm assuming you're saying like what form of credibility do you need? Right. So we're talking about like a credibility packet in order to be able to raise private money from other investors for your deals, for your growth, for your startup, whatever the case may be. And here's what I would say. Having let's call it having a credibility packet is going to be useful. However, in the beginning, you don't have any credibility. You haven't done anything yet. And so let's say you come across a grand slam dunk deal where you can buy a project that's worth $100 million and you could buy it for 20 cents on the dollar. Are you going to walk away from that project because you're like, well, I don't have the experience? No, what you're going to be able to do is one of two things. One, if the deal is really good and your business idea is really good, or whatever it is that you're looking to raise money for is really good, the money will come to it. Like a good idea will never have a hard time finding money. A good deal will never have a hard time finding money. However, with that being the case, you can also leverage other people's credibility. And this is something that I did very early on when I was getting into business and getting into entrepreneurship. Even from the start of me getting into wholesaling back in October of 2019, I knew I had no experience, not even like no experience in real estate. I'm talking no experience in sales, no experience in the world of entrepreneurship. Not really. I mean, I had run a parkour coaching business, but nothing at this scale. And so I invested in myself $25,000 to get educated through Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad Poor Dad education program. And what I started doing was I started leveraging my investment in self as almost like a diploma. So the same way someone like a person graduating Harvard would say, I'm a Harvard student or I'm a Yale graduate, I would say to people, I'm a graduate and a mentee of Robert Kiyosaki. And so I started to leverage Robert Kiyosaki's credibility as my credibility because it was true. And I understood the association. Robert Kiyosaki is the granddad of real estate investing. And so if I'm learning from the granddad of investing and I'm coming and I'm asking for money on a deal, and you know that my thought process is copy and pasted from Robert Kiyosaki's thought process, the question is, would you lend to Robert Kiyosaki if he came to you with a deal? Yes. So then you're more likely to lend to me. And then the second thing that I paid attention to was actually making sure my deal was good. I'm a big believer of defining a deal. A lot of people talk about, I have a deal, I'm looking for a deal. Sam, can you help me get a deal? Marlon, I'm looking to get my first deal. But what the hell does that mean? I don't actually know what you mean when you say a deal. And so a lot of business owners and newer entrepreneurs say this, right? Like, I got this business. What's that mean? I got this investment. What's that mean? Define it for me. And so when I go on, in fact, I was having a conversation with one of my lenders, my private money lenders. So this is someone who just happens to have a little over $1 million in their personal bank account because they run their own business and they've been saving money for the last 30 years. And so she and I were on a call and I was explaining to her, anytime I reach out to you, my deals mean I'm buying an asset typically in the range of 20 to 40 cents on the dollar. I'm buying an asset typically in that range. So there's a lot of equity and there's a lot of options, which means we could potentially sell as an exit. We could potentially refinance as an exit. We could potentially hold on to this thing and cash flow and get a good ROI or return on our investment. These are the sort of things that lend to the fact that I don't have 20 years of business experience, but I do have a great deal. And I borrowed the framework from people who have 20, 30, 40 years of business experience. So Ivan, you're a young guy. I know this about you. You and I've talked before. Continue to leverage the people who have come before you and adopt their ideas as your own because they've spent a career refining those ideas. Find the best operators, adopt their thinking, and then go out and do the hard work of finding the good deals or creating good business models and plans that makes it easy for investors to be able to say, take my money. Sam, what's your take on this?
You gave like the most developed answer possible. My simple truth is this. And I got to hit on this. Marlon didn't realize that he did this, and he actually said it within 30 seconds of saying it. He proved himself wrong within 30 seconds of saying it. He was just like, I had never done sales and I had no sales experience. And then what did he do? He joined a program and turned the program into, and then he started selling that he had like associative credibility. And that is a associative credibility, guys, is a textbook sales technique that I don't even think he knew at the time that he was doing. And so the dude's a natural salesman. I just got to point that out. That's freaking hilarious. Now, I'll say this. I'm a little bit more of a stickler right now when it comes down to people trying to sell themselves and get other people's money. Because we're talking about specifically getting someone else's money into your dealings, your business. And I'm not even going to like pretend that I didn't go and get other people's money really early on to fund my business. I absolutely did. But the key with that is before I did that, I had about like 25 to maybe 35 deals closed already. And what I'm talking, and like, guys, you don't need to be in the game for 2 years to get 35 deals closed. I was able to do it in about 3 to 4 months. The reality is, what was I looking for? It's not the 35 deals. Like that, the number is kind of irrelevant. What is relevant is a proof of concept that is reliable and repeatable. And so when people want to invest their money with you, they care about one thing. Is my money safe and are the results reliable and repeatable? Like that is it. And so if you come to the table and your only evidence base is I sound really good on the phone and I've got like a radio talk show voice and this, that, and the other, and I'm kind of selling a hope and a dream and I can make you feel nice, that's super awesome and that's great. And it's probably going to get you some people's money. But if you want to go big and you want to go land a whale who's got millions and they can be the real key for you scaling like I did, have the great sales skills, have the Marlon's ability to be resourceful and have associative credibility. But imagine if you were able to also tack on, I've also closed 20 of these transactions. Here's all the receipts for them. Because now you have a legitimate, tangible evidence. And right now, I think, Marlon, you and I have talked about this. We personally know a lot of people who've been screwed over by investing money in operators who were selling a hope and a dream and not actually selling evidence. And so I think based on the micro kind of economy that we're in right now, in the society of lending, the society of investing in other people's businesses, I challenge everyone who at least watches us to do better and hold off on getting other people's money in until you have a strong base of evidence to warrant someone investing in you. Because it's a big deal. And if it goes wrong, guys, it is really hard to recover from that.
Agreed. And I want to know, for the people who are in the live studio audience right now, do me a favor, put a 1 in the chat, like type the number 1 in the chat if you've ever heard this term, you're supposed to over deliver, right? Like if you ever heard someone say like over deliver value, over deliver, put a 1 in the chat if you've ever been told that advice, if you've ever heard those words, if you ever listened to someone say like under promise and over deliver, right? So I'm seeing Josh is saying 1, David saying 1, Steven saying 1, Lynette saying 1, Chris is saying 1, Desiree, Sydney, Jade, Jerome, Jeremiah. Like, so a lot. Okay, cool. A lot of 1s. That's what I was curious to see. And I heard that same advice. And you know what I discovered? Delivering is over delivering. Just doing what you said you were going to do. As you go out to raise money, Sam is absolutely right. Just simply do the things that you promised to do. Right? Just follow up. That's how you over deliver. And today, like today's marketplace the bar has been lowered so far that you can simply just do the thing you said you were going to do, and people will receive it as an over deliver because so many other people do not even get to that point. So many people do not even fulfill the words that come out of their mouth. And so this is also going to cause you to be a little bit more cautious about what you say you will do, because people will start to build an association that if you say you're going to do it, you will do it. And Sam and I have been lucky enough, and I'm not even going to say lucky. It really isn't luck. We've just been intentional enough to only say what we're going to do and do what we say. All right, so let's keep it moving because that's such a dude. Ivan always asks really good questions. He's one of my favorite people that
real
comes
quick.
on the show.
Real quick, guys, so we're gonna fire through these questions, but the reality is, I think Marlon and I, we both agree today is going to be an extended Q&A, so we are going to go overtime. One thing I want to say really, really, really quickly for the people who want to brand themselves and build brands and raise tons of money, guys. Like I've done my very first webinar ever where my intention was to make money. I raised 1.175 million in like 24 hours, my first time ever raising money. And the reason it all comes back to what Marlon has told us, or told me at least several times, is that we are trust brokers. The second that you start going online and saying that you do something and that you're trying to prove that you are about what you say you're about, you become a trust broker. And I'm in a private mastermind with basically all the influencers in the industry. I was there in Tampa last week for their event. And what was really interesting is there was one speaker who kind of did a session, and they called it something that I loved. And it was something to the effect of how to gain trust during today's trust recession. And what that
Mm.
means is simply no one in the industry trusts people on camera anymore. No one in the industry trusts people making reels and content and going on YouTube. And all you have to do, to Marlon's point, is, guys, the bar is that low. People expect to be screwed over. So all you have to do, at least in the very beginning, is just do what you say you're going to do. You're going to be leaps and bounds ahead of everyone else. It's a phenomenal platform to go. Sorry about that, man. Let's go.
I love that. And I promise you, Sam, Ivan, I'm going to get off of this topic right now after I say this one final thing. Ivan, if you really want to broker trust and really want to build trust and rapport with people, it's going to be so absolutely critical that as you go out and you're branding yourself, when things do go wrong, because inevitably in business, life will go wrong, you will make promises and things won't work out exactly how you saw them. The minute something goes wrong, you need to get in front of it and communicate with your people, with your lenders, with the marketplace. Let people know what's going on. That is how I've been able to effectively keep my lenders as well as I've been growing as an owner, as I've been growing as an operator. I've always just kept them up to date. And when things went wrong, I didn't hide. That's how you make them feel secure. That's how you make them feel safe. And that's how you keep the line of communication open so that they, as your partners, right, even though they don't have equity, they're just lenders. That sometimes they might have equity. They, as your partners, can feel trusting in you, knowing that you are not going to hide from them. All right. Now let's see. We got Kushman Patel. So Kushan Patel. So Kushan said, what's the ideal point to transition from running your business solo to starting to hire employees? I'm going to let Sam take that while I look up the exact episode that we did on this topic, because Sam's done probably 3 hyper in-depth episodes that I can think of, and I'm sure some more like side quest episodes where we've talked about this at length. But Sam, Kushan is here in person. So can we answer this question about when to transition from a basic framework? The answer is always going to be, it depends on where you're at and what's going on. But as a framework, what can we give?
Yeah, what I'm going to do is I love that. And just so you guys know, there's actually going to be a signature masterclass that I already know is probably about minimum 4 to 5 hours, exactly about building and scaling a team. That's going to be coming out hopefully within a very, very soon timeframe. So here's the actual cheat code. The answer is this. I can't give you, again, this is one of those things where I can't be like, yes, it's going to take you 3 months or 4 months or 5 months, because I don't know enough about you, your leadership skills, if you've built teams. I will say this, the reality is you can do it, and you can be automated as far as, like, let's just say acquisitions is concerned. And depending on the business, if it's a wholesale business, you can be out of a wholesale business in 6 months if you know what you're doing. If it's a lending business, you can start a lending business fully automated, be out of it, honestly, from the get-go. But it comes down to one simple thing, in my opinion, and it is how soon do you build out SOPs and onboarding documents? Like, that is the key. So when we go and start building a team, we care about how can we recruit, hire, train, and retain top-tier talent. So how do we do that? We build SOPs, we build hiring processes, we build onboarding documents that basically helps train them up. And the key is this: while you're doing the thing, because I'm assuming you're in the seat doing the thing right now, the key is this: document every damn thing that you do. Every single process, every task. If you're comping a property, record yourself on Loom doing it and then store it in a Google Drive, because trust me, down the road, that's going to become an SOP bank. So the answer, in my honest opinion, is basically going to be, how quickly can you build out the infrastructure, the SOPs, the hiring, the training and retaining, all of that logistical stuff. You know, when you go and apply for a job at a Fortune 500 company, not only do they have a hiring process that you got to go through, you take tests. And when you start with them, they've got like a week planned for you. And in most of these jobs, you'll get like a binder. You'll get like an onboarding binder. Those are SOPs. Those are training materials. And this is why the corporate America is phenomenal at churning people all the time. Corporate America doesn't give a damn if you quit tomorrow, because within 14 days, they're going to have someone who's going to fill the seat as effectively as you did. And the thing with real estate investors is real estate investors hear SOPs and they like, they like freaking run for the goddamn hills sometimes because they're so afraid of making them? The answer is simple. And I'm a visionary. I hate SOPs. I hate tracking KPIs. It is something that I am vehemently against because it goes against every grade of my body, because all I want to do is talk in front of the camera or talk on stage or talk on the phone. I don't want to sit there and create guides and guidebooks. But I quickly realized that the sooner I made those guidebooks is the sooner I got my time back. So the key is this, guys. My viewpoint in SOPs now is this. I hate making them. I still to this day hate making them. What do? My partners make them for me. And they're getting really good at having AI make the SOP for them. And all I care is that it gets done. And the key is this. Every time an SOP hits my desk, when my partners made it or our executive assistant made it or someone made it for our business, I get so happy because that SOP guarantees that I will never have to do that task again in my life. Because now that it's documented, it can be put in front of somebody else. So that's my key. Start documenting everything right now. The sooner you start documenting, the sooner you can get out of the job.
Dude, Sam, I freaking love your answers, man. And so if you want, Sam also went over this in super duper detail on episode number 80 of the Think Big, How to Hire. So you can go and find that on Sam's Instagram or Sam's YouTube channel. Just look for number 80, Think Big, How to Hire, and you will find that episode there. Also,
yep. Oh, sorry, go for it.
No, you got it. Go ahead.
If you're running a wholesale business specifically, right, and you want it, and you have acquisitions, you have lead managers or closers, episode 73 and episode 74. 73, 74, and 80, best episodes. Those, do those three, it's going to be better than like half the courses in the industry.
Sam, how many people have asked you for those episodes that you have them memorized at this point?
Dude, it's honestly almost like an every other day thing now.
I freaking love that, man. Okay, so let's keep going. Stephen Crawford, dude, good to see you, brother. Such a great name. Stephen's such an awesome dude. Haven't seen him in a few months. Stephen says, where would you find a template for a credibility packet? What would it have in it? Stephen, I got my credibility packet as a template from, remember that $25,000 mastermind or that Robert Kiyosaki course I told you I signed up for? Well, one of the resources that they gave me as being in that program was a template for a credibility package. And so, although I'm not allowed to give that out online, if you happen to be inside of my school community and I happen to share it in my school community, that's basically what I'm saying is if you want it, guys, like if that would be helpful for y'all to see a template for a credibility packet, I will share it inside of the school community. That way it's kind of like being inside my house. I can do whatever I want. It's not out there publicly because it's a private school community. And at that point, I'm just sharing with you guys things that I have access to. And I'll share you what my credibility packet looks like. So if you want that, the best way to find it, Stephen, is going to be do this. Go to my Instagram. And you're already following me on Instagram, Stephen. We talk all the time, or not all the time, but like I see we engage in each other's content. Just click this link right here on my IG. It's school.com/MMC/free. So if you just click that, what will happen is it will bring you over to this page. And inside here, I will just drop it later tonight after the show. I'll come inside here and make that for you. So appreciate you, Stephen, for being here. What do we get? What's the next question?
Can I tell a quick story?
Yeah, but go ahead. I'm
Real quick.
For the next question.
Guys, I want to tell a story about Stephen Crawford because I don't even think he remembers that I told him this, but I went on his podcast a while back, maybe last year. And while I'm telling this story, I want you guys to come up with like the deepest, darkest questions that you have in your business. I want you guys to think very intentionally here, right? Think about your business right now, where it's at. And I want you to be able to tell us what do you feel, right? What do you feel right now is your biggest constraint in your business? And try to formulate that into some form of question. And I think we can dive into it because I really love diving into people's businesses. But Stephen Crawford, bro, Marlon, I would not know you. I would not be a micro influencer. I wouldn't be speaking on stages. I wouldn't have this phone. I wouldn't have any of where I'm at right now if it wasn't for Stephen Crawford. And here's why. A long time ago, before I got into this industry, guys, if you guys didn't know, November 1st this year, November will be my 3-year mark in this industry, in entrepreneurship, as a business owner, in real estate, the whole nine. 3 years, November 1st. Let's just say 3 years and some change ago, I was gaming. I was playing a game called PUBG, and I was on the PC and I was gaming. And while I was gaming, I was like trying to figure out what the hell to do with my life because I, just left grad school and I'm kind of broke and all these things. And so I was consuming podcasts in my ear while I was playing video games. And there was an episode by Pace Morby on Wholesale Hotline where he talked about his student, Stephen Crawford, and Stephen's story. And guys, like, I was kind of at the point where I'm like, I'm looking at all the mentorships, and I just had the call with Astro, and they were trying to sell me and all these things. And like, I didn't know which way to go. And then it wasn't, for some reason, it was clicking in my head, playing the video game. I'm hearing Pace talk about how Stephen Crawford was, I believe, like a pilot, right? I think a pilot. And then
flew over crops.
Yeah, and then he got sick and tired one day, and then just sat down and Googled like how to get rich or something to that effect. And then it led him down the rabbit hole to Sub 2. And then that was actually the one, I swear to you, that night I went and applied for Sub 2. It's something about that story just like hit me, caught my attention. I was consuming tons of podcasts, but he's just like, yep, was a pilot, Googled how to get rich. Now I'm in Sub 2. Now I make a ton of money. And I was like, it's good enough for me. Guys, I owe so much to Stephen Crawford. He actually, I don't even know if he knows that. So Stephen, I appreciate you. Love you for changing my life. Okay.
Dude, I love Stephen. And isn't it amazing how this is why it's so impactful that as we create content, there are days. Dude, do you remember like when we first started making this podcast, we would have like maybe 2 people on the live stream with us. We have over 55 people streaming in live with us. And that's just on YouTube alone. And then we've got people on Instagram. Like, it's absolutely amazing. We got people on Facebook. It's amazing. So shout out to you guys. But it's impactful because those little, you never know when someone's going to get the message that they need from you. If you're not putting it out there, though, it will never happen. So thank you, Stephen, for having put yourself out there. All right, let's go. Ivan's got a second question. He says, what kind of mail would you guys recommend to max lead flow? Sorry if you covered this in Marketing Secrets. I swear I will be there for the next one because he understands Marketing Secrets. The only way to get the juicy information is to show up in person. Real quick, Sam, do we have a date for the next Marketing Secrets yet?
So fun fact, I'm actually never going to do Marketing Secrets ever again. So
sorry, Ivan, you will not be there for the next one.
Guys, and so yeah, you won't. I'll say this, guys, and just to give you like a quick context into that, Marketing Secrets is my favorite. It's my favorite one because I'm really good at marketing and sales. It's like why I do so well in business. It's because that's the stuff that I'm good at. The reality is when I do Marketing Secrets, Ivan, you don't know this. When I did it, not only did I show you how to start, optimize, and scale each channel, I also exposed basically all the scams in the industry. And I never named any companies or named any CEOs, but I just like, here's how you will get scammed if you don't watch out for this. The reality is, and I had to do that because ethically, I think God wants me to talk about things that can hurt people to protect them from it. The reality is the amount of BS that maybe had to deal with after the fact from angry CEOs of all these companies that are scamming people. I'm just like, man, I don't know if this is worth it anymore. So I'm probably just not going to do it again. But that being said, there's going to be a masterclass for so many things, building and scaling teams, all the systems you could ever need. I made a big post, like we're on episode 101 of this podcast. I have another podcast with a good friend of mine named Logan Manzanares. We've interviewed billionaires on there, and I have the best proximity in the world from someone who's as new to the industry as I am. And so I'm going to even have a masterclass about starting and scaling a podcast so you can get free mentorships from billionaires. Like, guys, we've had sharks from Shark Tank hang out with us. And so there's going to be a ton of those, but Marketing Secrets, unfortunately, is no more.
I freaking love it. Okay, I was just too busy listening to Sam to even look for the next question. So sorry about that, Ivan, but obviously stay tuned. This is why, by the way, you all need to be following Sam. If you are here because of my Instagram, or if you're here because of any of my channels and you're not following Sam, go to Instagram right now. Go to Arch Sam Singh and follow Sam. You'll see he's one of the few people that I am following. And the reason being is Sam only announces pretty much anything on Instagram. Like I don't know why he doesn't do email lists. He doesn't do text blasts. He doesn't do any of the other things that the rest of us, humans and mortals need to do. Sam just goes on Instagram and then the world shows up afterwards. And when Sam shows up, he delivers more value than basically anybody else I know. All right, let's see. What do we got here? We got Ellie. Ellie says, I'm a lender and realtor. I'm a closer, but not an extrovert, making outreach for new leads a struggle. This is the vehicle to fund the next thing. How can I get over the personality hurdle? That's a good question, Ellie. So essentially, Ellie is saying that she's in a position where her job requires her to get up, go out, and generate leads, right? She needs to TTP, talk to people, but she's not an extrovert. She's more introverted. She'd rather be home, quiet, laid up in her pajamas, eating some popcorn, which guess what, Ellie? I totally agree with you. Like people do not believe me when I say it. I am an introvert. I prefer to be alone. I can sit by myself for weeks at a time, right? And like I get it. It's so hard to believe if you see my social media, but this is why Caroline and I get along so well, because Caroline knows how to leave me alone and let me just sit in silence, and I love her for that. Sam gets it too. Sam will just let me sit. Like we'll go to Vegas and I'll just sit on the couch and say nothing, and Sam will just let me be, and I love that about him. And so, Ellie, here's the reality. What is required of you is required of you regardless of how you feel about it. And there's certain work that just simply needs to be done until you can afford to allow someone else who's better suited for the work to do it. You heard Sam say earlier, even though it's the bane of his existence, creating SOPs and putting those sort of systems together, he still recognizes at certain stages in his development, he has to go and be the person putting the basic SOPs together until they take off on their own, to the point that he can bring on the professional SOP maker. He can go and get the person whose dream job it is to do that sort of work. There's a certain base level of work that just needs to get done. And this is where Gary Vee would like to say, stop complaining and just put your hands in the dirt and get to work. I'm going to give that same advice. And I'd say it lovingly, Ellie. Like, I hope you know every word that comes out of my mouth is with love. This is where we're going to put our big girl pants on and we're going to put our hands in the dirt, because ultimately what I want you to understand is this. Humans, all of us, myself included, we do things for two basic emotions. There are two driving emotions that drive every single decision that you and I will ever make from now till the day we die. And this is just human nature. And those two emotions are this: pain and pleasure. We do everything for the avoidance of pain and towards the attainment of pleasure. And so the reality is, right now, not doing the work, procrastinating the work is painful. And that's why you're asking this question. However, you perceive the doing of the work as more painful than the pain of procrastination. And until you start to perceive the pain of procrastination as more painful, you're not going to get yourself to get up and make the calls consistently that you need to be making, and making it with the sort of energy that you can train yourself to present with. Because all of the behaviors of an extrovert can be trained to be done by anyone else that has any level of mental competency. And you have it based on the way you ask this question. And so effectively, what I want you to start doing is I want you to look at the pain of, if I stay and I procrastinate and I don't overcome this hurdle until I get to the point of being able to hire someone, where does that leave me 10 years from now? Right? Feel the pain of being in the same place today that you're going to be 10 years from now if you don't change. Feel that pain. Like, live in it. Imagine how sucky it would be 10 years from now to watch everybody else progress, grow, and make drastically more money, and you can't. To have the freedom that you're looking for, and you're still stuck in the same position trying to figure out how to get out of the rat race because you didn't want to do this. Start to feel that pain today and associate that pain of that reality to the procrastination of the work. And then start to look in your mind at, well, what would the pleasure of being able to have time freedom, being able to be well-connected, being able to not just be the person that gets to enjoy my own life, but being able to provide that opportunity to somebody else. Start to feel what that pleasure would feel like and associate that pleasure to making the calls and being the bubbly personality that I know you can be, just based on the smile in your picture. And this is how we start to rewire. What we're doing is we're creating new neural association. I want you to create a new neural association to the work that needs to be done, where it's a positive neural association. So you're going to go and actually feel good with things that already make you feel good and connect it to that behavior. And then you're going to think about the things that make you feel terrible, and you're going to connect it to the behavior of procrastinating. And this is something that I personally have actively done. And this is how I get myself to do work that in the beginning I don't want to, until I don't get myself to do work that I don't want to do. I trick myself into wanting to do the work. All right, Sam, anything you want to add on that? Did I cover that question?
You did it phenomenally. The only thing I want to add is this: I have a very cut and dry approach to this, right? And it's really simple, and it comes down to having an honest, upfront discussion with yourself. I want this life, and this life is amazing and it's successful, but it requires me to do all of this shit. This life is gate kept behind the gate, and that gate is all the hard work that you want to avoid. Okay. A lot of the times, this is the problem. People spend all their time deluding themselves thinking about that life, but they don't delude themselves into thinking about the work in a positive way or in a required way. And so what they do is their behaviors, their actions are still right here. They're still in today's life, in your current life. And so here's the thing. You need to sit down and ask yourself this. If you're struggling to do the work, if you're struggling to do the things, look at your life right now. Because your life right now is literally a byproduct, or it is a result of you living your life a very specific way. It's how you've been living it right now. Ask yourself simply, am I okay with my life right now? Am I cool with it? My circumstances, my surroundings, my home, my bills, everything. Do I like this life? Am I okay with living this life? If the answer is yes, great. You don't have to change your behaviors. If the answer is no, I freaking hate this life. No, I want that delusionally amazing life. Amazing. You accept that that's what you want. You also have to accept the behavioral changes that come with it. And the reality is there's no way around the hard work, in my opinion, unless you're raking in tons of money, which most of us don't have. The reality is, Marlon, we talked about this last year. You're the one who actually taught me about this. You were like, you can't listen to the bitch voice. It's the way it is. So I think that's it, man.
I love it. Great. So Victoria asked, and I already know I'm gonna need more context for this. Victoria Yoder asked, what are 3 actions that should be done every day in growing my real estate business? I get stuck sometimes on the daily side of things. So Victoria, I would just need to know more specifically, when you say your real estate business, what is your real estate business? But effectively, there still is a framework, because all businesses require the same thing, especially under the $3 million mark. Essentially, there are 2 major levers that need to be pulled in your business, which is marketing and sales. And I would say the third lever, which is inevitable if you're doing marketing and sales correctly, is going to be the fulfillment. And when I say fulfillment, this simply means when you sell, all you're doing is you're making face noises with the front of your face is just speaking, and you're promising people things. You're saying, I will do this, or I will give you this, or I will provide this. And so fulfillment simply means doing the things that your face said you were going to do. And so with that, Victoria, if I were brand new at business, or even at the stage I'm in, this is where I'm at currently in my business as well, is every day I wake up and I focus on how do we market more and how do we convert more people that are now aware of our service. Right. Like that's it. Like how marketing and sales. Now it goes into more detail depending on where you in your business are actually at. We can give a little bit more fine details, but without knowing what your actual business is, it's going to be hard for me. Maybe Sam can do some Jedi mind tricks and just know where you're at, but I don't know exactly where you are in your business, Victoria.
Yeah, I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna assume this is a broad stroke. I'm gonna assume you're making less than 7 figures a year. And so as a broad stroke, I'll say this straight up. Simply put, one business model, one marketing strategy, one avatar. That is it. Don't do any more. You don't need to be gator lending and also be thinking about long-term lending. Like I know lending and lending, it all sounds like it's all part of the same thing, but those are 2 very different beasts. Transactional lending, that takes like a month, versus long-term buy and hold 3 to 5 year notes. And I want to get into note investing and buying and selling notes. Totally different ball game, totally different avatar, totally different way to generate leads. What I want you to do is, if you're doing less than $1 million a year, one business model, one product/service, one avatar, one fulfillment method. That is it. Turn everything else off. If you do that, I can almost, like, guys, Hormozi says this all the time. He's like, one product, one avatar, one channel. You can ride that to 1 million. Guys, we did one micro channel from this book and made 117 grand in 30 days. And it was the weirdest freaking thing to see that happen, because we were like, holy crap, he's not lying. So that's it.
How wild is it that when you start doing the things that you're like, I was having this conversation with Caroline earlier this morning. She and I went for like a walk at like 5 o'clock in the morning. And I was saying to Caroline, she was like, what do you need help with? Like, where are you at right now? I said, Caroline, I am currently in the season of remembering all the stuff that works, and I'm just doing more of it right now. And I've been coming out of a season of play. I mean, Sam, you know this. Sam looked at me like with disappointing eyes 2 months ago when I said I was going to go on a road trip. And he's like, bro, you just told me you're staying home. because Sam knows I need to be sitting my butt down and just continuing to do more of the things that work. And that's what's required in this season, just repetition. Now, before we continue, because this is going to be an extended Q&A, and I want to say this, if you are getting value from this, I want you to share this YouTube live right now, because we're going to continue to ask and answer questions. We're going to continue to answer all of your questions on here tonight until there are no questions left. We are currently at 60 people live with us on YouTube. My goal is to, if we can get to 100 people tonight, I will do some added bonus. I don't even know what the extra giveaway will be. Maybe it'll be cash money. Maybe, like, I'm not sure what that giveaway will be yet. I'll think about it. However, if I can see that ticker go over to 100 because we surpassed 100 episodes of consistently showing up, that would be bomb.com. Now, what's super cool about this is with 60, and we got 61 people on here right now, with 61 people literally just sharing this out to 2 people, we will pass that 100 number easily, because one of those people you share it with is not going to click on the link, but the other person will. And some of you are going to share it to each other because you guys know each other, which is super cool. There's a community in the comments. I want to see you guys share this video right now with at least 2 people. Let's push it over. Let's get the viewer count over 100 for episode 101.
Marlon, now, I actually think now's a good time, because it'll give us time to, because I actually want to do the giveaway live. I think now would be a great time to actually tell the people what to do. And that way more people will come in. We'll tell them again what to do at the end. And then at the end, we'll have enough time where people have done it. And I can just pick 3 winners right then and there.
I freaking love it. Let's do it. So if you remember the beginning of this episode, Sam said he's going to be giving away physical copies of $100 million leads. This book has effectively allowed him to last month hit his newest high inside of one of his portfolio companies of crossing over $116,000 in a single month, as well as hit the newest high today in daily revenue of crossing over $25,000 in a single day from the newest portfolio company. And so this book is not just a sit down and get information book. This book is actually a manual on how to generate more leads in your business, regardless of industry. Probably one of the most valuable books you will ever pick up on marketing and lead generation. And so the way we're going to be doing this giveaway is very simple. One, we've been paying attention in the chat to the people who've been commenting. So it's going to be somebody who's already commented tonight on the YouTube chat. So if you've only been on the Instagram, get over to the YouTube, because if you're not on the YouTube, you will not qualify. So those of you who are here with me live right now, you're going to be able to qualify to win. Also, you need to be on the live while we do the giveaway. If we call your name and you do not respond in the chat within 30 seconds, we will move on to the next person. What I need you to do is I need you to first go to each of our YouTube channels. So if you're on my YouTube, awesome. Hit the subscribe button. In fact, I'm going to show you. This is how we learn. We learn by first watching someone else do it, and then we copy. So I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to go to YouTube. So earlier we were here. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to go to Mindset Marlin, right? At Mindset Marlin on YouTube. And I'm going to show you what it will look like for you if you're not subscribed. It's going to have a little button right there. It's going to say subscribe. You're going to click subscribe. Then you're going to click this little down arrow, and you're going to click the all button. So that way, when we go live, you are aware. So that's going to be the first thing you're going to do. Then when you do this, watch this. I'm going to take a screenshot. So I'm going to screenshot that I am subscribed, and you guys all just saw that screenshot get taken. Okay. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for Sam Singh. I'm going to find Sam Singh. I'm going to go to his YouTube channel, and look what I'm going to do. I'm going to click subscribe. I'm going to click the down arrow, and I'm going to click all. And then again, I'm going to screenshot that I have subscribed and I have all notifications turned on. This is critical. Without these screenshots, you will not qualify, because once you get these screenshots, what you are then going to do is you are going to come over to your Instagram. So now I'm going to go to Instagram, and I would be doing this on my cell phone because I can't do it on my computer. I'm going to share a story on Instagram, and I'm going to tag Marlon and Sam in that story. You can share either us on this podcast right now. On that story, you can share the photo that you screenshotted, but you're going to share and you're going to tag myself and Sam in a story for tonight. right now, which means in a little bit, I should start getting notifications from you guys tagging us. And then you are going to send us the photos that you screenshotted. You're going to send it to both me and you're going to send it to both Sam. I just gave you a lot of homework, and this is all for a free book. I just gave you a lot of homework, not just a free book. This is probably the most valuable book that will exist in your library until he writes the next book. And so effectively, you are subscribing to myself and Sam on YouTube. You're turning on all notification. You're tagging us on an Instagram story. And then you are sending us the screenshots that you have of you being subscribed to the YouTube channel with all the notifications turned on. We're going to come back and we're going to check in a couple of minutes to see who's got that done already. All right. Sam, did I cover everything from that standpoint?
Yep, you got it.
Beautiful. Okay.
Let's get back to some questions, man.
Let's keep going here. So Lynette, what's up, Lynette? Lynette's always been, shout out to Lynette. She shows up consistently. She's been plugging away at her work. So Lynette says, I remember Marlon saying he would work at McDonald's if needed when he first started to raise money for his business. He was willing to do anything to ensure that money would be coming in. And so, yeah, this goes back to Ivan's question earlier about raising capital. Effectively, one thing that we didn't mention is what gave me the confidence to raise money was me knowing myself well enough to know that, God forbid, worst case scenario, my business goes belly up, I lose everything. I would be willing to go and get a job. Like, nothing is beneath me. I would go get a job at McDonald's. I would go become a janitor. I would become a garbage man. I would do whatever it took to go and honestly earn the money back, right? Like, I'd raise that money honestly, doing honest work and pay my lenders back, even if it took me 20 years to get them paid back. I would make good on my word. So that's something that when you know you have that about yourself, it's going to make it easier to speak to investors with confidence and conviction. Okay. Let's get back. Ivan's been asking some fire questions. Ivan says, what is a part of being a successful business owner that you struggle or have struggled the most with? That's a good question. Sam, I'll let you take that one because I'm going to also be resharing your guys' posts because I'm already getting tagged on Instagram right now from y'all. So I'm going to start resharing some of those posts. Shout out to Chris, already shared. Mac already shared. Steven already shared. Like, you guys are moving quick.
Speed to lead, guys. Okay, so I love this question. We've got this question a few times before, and I think so much to the point where we both know each other's answers. But my biggest struggle point that I've had personally, and this is actually outside of business, because I think business is a puzzle, and it's, if you don't have the answers, it's just a game that you play to get the answers. For me, the struggle points are internal struggle points. And so the one thing that I've had the most walls with, the most trouble breaking through with, is just owning my own wins and not giving them away. And it's an identity thing. So for me specifically, I'm not going to get too much into it. I was in an industry prior to this, and like my entire being before getting into entrepreneurship was that everything you did was never your own win. It was always a win that was credited to the team, and especially to the mentors. And so what ended up happening is I got into this industry, and then I'll be completely transparent. I had a lot of success that most people don't get to have in a very short amount of time. And it's because I think I had a good skill set. I think I also got tremendously lucky in a lot of those instances. And what ended up happening is I started getting a lot of results really fast, and it was hard for me to own them because all of my mentors in the space, especially some really big ones, were kind of telling me this is not normal. It's probably just a fluke. Don't celebrate yourself. And it's just like, wait, you need more time. You need more time. You need more time. You're too young. And that was always a big struggle point for me, was owning this stuff, because I saw some of my peers going and starting to do really audacious things with a fraction of the actual credibility that I had. And that was a struggle point with me. I'm like, I make 10 times more money than them, but like, why are they going online and saying all these things? Like, shouldn't they also wait before they start doing the thing? And then I realized I just had to start accepting that it was time for me to own my own damn wins. And the cool thing is this, is over the last 2.5 to 3 years, everything that I've done is a byproduct of, was I in the right place at the right time? Maybe. But here's the truth to me. You could put me in the wrong place at the wrong time, and I'm still going to come out of it as a really big fucking success. And that's just the way it is. And so I'm at a point now where I'm extremely unapologetic about my success. And Marlon knows this. No one receives more screenshots of my bank account and my payment processor than Marlon Johnson. Like, I felt bad about it because I was like, dude, I'm so sorry for blasting you with like all this money. And the reality, he knows this, is I'm stepping into a new identity phase. I think both of us are. He's probably a little bit ahead of me in this regard. In this new identity phase is we're becoming, like, honest to God, like the sooner we both become full-time content creators, the sooner that our lives skyrocket. And we both get that. And he's really good at executing on it. For me, it's an interesting conversion. It's an interesting time to take a leap because for the last 3 years, I've been a business builder. And now all of a sudden I've spoken on 30 stages in the last year. I do tons of podcasting. Now we have to make content and do masterclass and all these things. It's a new identity. And I think a big thing that I had to go through was actually having the credibility on the back end, not to convince anyone else that I was about what I say I'm about, but actually just prove it to myself. And I'm at a point now where Marlon knows this. I don't give a shit anymore. It's like we make the money, with or without my mentor's approval, I'm going to make a ton of money. We're going to do the damn thing and we're going to show the entire process all the way through. But that was the big thing for me. It was just not owning my own wins.
That's huge. That's big. And guys, I got to say, first off, I do see Sam's bank account way more than I ever need to, but I love him for it. He genuinely did apologize to me, just like out of like, dude, I know you're in the middle of the workday, but he was excited because he's working his ass off to make it happen. And that's what I love and appreciate about Sam is he, a year and a half ago, we had a conversation about the focus he was going to get into, and he stayed committed to that focus. And he's, Sam, you said something to me, and shout out to you for this right now, real quick. You said, dude, I'm going to do the work that everyone else says they're doing. Because I remember I asked you what your plan was, and that was your plan. You're like, and I was like, that's just so simple and true. I'm just going to do the work that everyone else says they're doing, period. And so, guys, Sam is like, when I talk about people who are the real deal, Sam is one of those people. He's absolutely the real deal. And I love that about him. And I'm grateful I get to hang out with him. So, Ivan, also, Ivan already sent over the photos. He's got the subscription. He's already shared, like he's subscribed on the YouTube channel. He's got the all notification on. So shout out to Ivan getting that done. Chris has already got it done. Steven's already got it done. A couple of you have actually, let me just go through this because I'm going to answer that question in a second. But some of you have already did it. Laura Bayers already got it done. Who else is doing it right now? Betty is doing it right now. Deborah's getting it done. Sydney's got it done. Joelle's got it done. Victoria's got it done. So to shout out to some of you for already getting it done. I watched a few of you drop off the YouTube channel and then come right back. So appreciate you coming back as well. Ivan, for me, what is the part of being a successful business owner that you struggle or have struggled with the most? It's going to follow in suit with exactly what Sam said. In fact, I made an Instagram post today that, funny enough, it didn't get the same number of likes that most of my other posts get. However, it sparked up way more conversation in both the comments and then in my DMs than I had anticipated, which is showing me that it's really speaking to the people who are doing the thing. Because I shared that I'm doing this right now Instagram series where I'm doing 31 lessons on personal development because this year I had turned 31. And lesson 1 was effectively become immune to rejection. And I share that coming into business, coming into entrepreneurship, and quite frankly, coming into adulthood, my biggest concern and worry was, what do you think about me? What does my mentor think about me? What do my parents think about me? What do my friends think about me? What does my community think about me? What do my followers on Instagram think about me? Like, I allowed what other people think about me to dictate my decision making so much to the point that I no longer even really knew what I wanted when asked the question, what are your goals? And so I struggled with being able to find myself. And this is possibly why, not even possibly, this is quite frankly why I talk so much about mindset, because I struggled with my own mindset for so long that if I had continued to struggle with it, I would still be chasing after other people's versions of success and life. And so as a business owner, the biggest struggle I had was getting to know myself, and even more importantly, getting to speak up for myself. So it wasn't just about knowing what I desire, because many of you already know what you desire, and you're still not going after it because you're still allowing other people to speak for you. And so I like to really promote getting to know yourself and then speaking up courageously, regardless of the outcome. Say with tact, say what's on your mind. Give your honest opinion on things and begin to live authentically and in alignment. Alignment meaning your actions, thoughts, and words are all in the same direction. They're all agreeing with each other. When your words and your thoughts are moving in different directions, or your thoughts and your actions are moving in different directions, you're going to have misalignment. You're going to have issue. You're going to be inviting problems into your life that, trust me when I say, you don't want, because these are the problems that don't grow you. These are the problems that tear you down. And so that's my answer, Ivan. Great question. Let's keep going here. I thought Sam was doing some magic. Sam, we got Mac on here. Mac says, say you have a JV deal where a wholesaler brings a high-level buyer and claims that it's why they deserve a higher split on the deal. However, you find, negotiate, and close the deal. What's a fair split?
50-50.
I would agree. I would say if you got a JV deal where, so this is effectively, right, like if someone's bringing a buyer to the deal, one half of a deal is acquisition and one half of a deal is disposition. And so the acquisition side is going to make money, and the disposition side is going to make money. Now, the only time I say it's not a 50-50 split is if the conversation one on the front end is had before the deal even begins, right? And then typically, like in the past, I've done, as a person dispoing the deal, I've done a 70-30 split with people, because when they brought the deal to me, the deal was a broken deal. And I and my team had to get in there and really manipulate it and fix it and put it together so that a buyer would buy it. And so because we had to do more of that work to get it to the finish line, we took a larger split. We had that conversation up front, obviously, with the wholesaler. But effectively, this is what I agree upon. But at the minimum, you typically are going to always see a 50-50 scenario. And the reason and the rationale behind this, pay attention to this, Mac, and this is for everyone, because JVs tend to be a source of a lot of tension in our industry. If you don't find a buyer, you get 100% of nothing. And my first mentor taught me that. He said, Marlon, what's 100% of zero? I said, zero. He's like, okay, what's, 100% of zero? I was like, you just asked me that question. He's like, yeah, because I want you to get it, right? Don't be greedy. He would say that to me. He said, don't be greedy. And so I've taken that as a mindset and adopted it in my business. Is I'd rather get half of a watermelon than all of a grape, or really all of nothing. So I hope that answers the question, Mac. Let's see. What's our next question here? Let's see. We got Stephen Crawford says, I've never done my own lead gen. I barely am beginning to do that and would like to know how to fund that. I have good credit, but a high debt to income, so I struggle to get credit. By the way, everybody, DTI stands for debt to income. This is something that you, as you get into business, you're going to be aware of. Debt to income means you owe a lot of money, right? Your debt to income is a ratio of how much money do you owe versus how much money do you have coming in. All right. So I've got good credit, but a high DTI, so I struggle to get credit. Any ideas? Sam, so what do we say for someone who's never done their own lead gen? And Steven, I'm going to imagine, I'm just going to assume we're talking about active income and we're talking about wholesaling. So I'm assuming we're talking lead generation for wholesaling, right?
Yeah. So I'll hit on this one. Okay. I would normally talk to you about how to go and leverage credit and leverage business stacking and all these things, business credit stacking, to be able to fund your marketing campaigns. But because I'm just going to take that off the table, because assuming that your applications will probably get dismissed because the DTI, totally good. This is especially common with people who are doing a lot of flips, because flippers usually are utilizing a lot of their credit. Now, Steven, you've got a very fine-tuned skill set and knowledge base because you've been in this industry for so long at such a high level. So the reality is this: you can actually go ahead and utilize that. That is your leverage, your skill set, your sales capabilities, your all these things to go find a JV partner who has the money and who doesn't have the time, the energy, the skill set behind it, but there may be a doctor, an attorney, a lawyer, something and they have a lot of money on their hands and they want to get into wholesaling, but they just physically cannot do it. They actually need operators like you. So when I went and started getting the money, I couldn't go and apply for credit. Why? Because I was a broke ass kid out of college, out of grad school. And so I couldn't get the money. So what did I have to do? I went, worked my ass off, got the skill set, learned how to do sales, did all these things. And I went and found whales, people who had tons of money in their bank account, but they didn't have the time, nor the energy, nor the desire to sit on the phone and bang out those calls. But they still wanted to make money from wholesaling. There are those people, they're looking for you, Steven. A ton of them are out there and they're all looking for you. And they would actually, I'm telling you right now, for the amount of Sam Sings that there are out there who were young, broke, had never actually really done anything and hadn't been in the industry as long as you've been in the industry, you actually right now have way more credibility than I did when I was a few months in, and people were funding me up to $20,000 a month in spend. The reality is you're better equipped and better suited to get those JV partners than I ever was in the beginning. And so for me, I think that is your best way of doing it. And then you work out the split on the back end. They fund the stuff. They fund the entire campaign. You do all of the work. Funny enough, I'm doing this now on the other side of it now, where there's a select few operators where I spend all of the money, like my personal money, investing in their marketing, investing in their systems. One person, guys, I've spent $48,000 this year just on data, just on freaking data this year, just to give it to people to market to. And the only thing I wanted was we either JV on the deal in the back end because I funded it, or I buy the deals. Like, that's it. And if I don't buy the deal, we JV it, sell it off to someone else. It's all good. The operators get to basically run their entire businesses at effectively no expense. And then I give them the quality of the best marketing, this, that, and the other. And funny enough, I was in your position 2.5 years ago. I'm on the other side now where I don't have more time to start more companies, to start more acquisition teams. But I still want to reap the benefits of marketing in new markets and getting more deals. So what do? I'm now effectively the whale coming in and swiping my credit card so other people can go do the damn thing for me. So just know that your avatar, you are extremely well suited. My opinion, bro, you probably shouldn't even be thinking about DTI and credit stacking, leveraging all that right now. In my opinion, kind of useless. You could put up 1 or 2 Facebook posts in certain communities that you're in, and your name has enough credibility where you can probably schedule 20 discovery calls with people who will be begging to give you money. That's just my take.
Yep. And on top of that, I agree with Sam Wool 100%. With that being the case, get crystal clear on what your marketing channel would be if you go that route of raising funds to go and leverage marketing. This was something that I understood theoretically, and I was always afraid to pull the trigger on raising money to get into marketing, because when I was doing wholesaling as a regular business, I had this worry that I wouldn't be able to close on the back end, that I didn't want to risk other people's money. Now I realize it was a limiting mindset, and I wish I had gone back and just raised the money and just supercharged my marketing campaign. I did so in a different kind of way. I basically got my buyer. Sam, I don't know if I ever told you this. I got my buyer to actually fund my marketing for me through relationship this way, because I was just too scared to spend my own money, quite frankly, and to spend other people's money. But getting clear on what your marketing channel is going to be, so when you raise that money, you know, I have conviction behind this marketing channel. I know it will work, right? That's what I love about Sam. When Sam opens up a marketing channel, it's a hypothesis, yes, because none of us have crystal balls. However, he does his research to say, hey, the data backs why this marketing channel will make sense. That's why it's kind of sad that you're not going to do another Marketing Secrets, because you are one of the few people in the industry who would come at marketing with a data-driven approach, and you would say tactically why the data says this will work and behave the way it should. Okay.
Yeah,
let's keep rolling.
Let's keep going.
Also, shout out. I just love seeing all the names in here. Shout out to Joel. He's inside here. What up, Olga? What's up, Deborah? What's up, Josh and Laura? We got Sasha hanging out inside here with us. Does Ivan have another question? What's this one say? Things that need to get done.
Jade,
the most
dude, I
the ones
definitely gotta give a shout out to Josh and Laura, who usually can't be with us live, but they always watch the replay, always, and always leave a comment. Love Josh and Laura. And then Jade's always on it. Love Jade.
Dude, right? Jade is freaking bomb.com. Now, Jeff Smith, I love Jeff because he's somewhere inside the house right now. I don't even know where he is in the house. So I love that he is still tuning in. And Jeff asked, can you go deep on the concept of trying the activity that sucks and tricking yourself to doing it? Is there a particular example that I've done? And I'm saying I because I said this earlier. And so for anyone that's just now tuning in, what I said earlier was effectively, I was talking to Ellie about this. I said to Ellie that if you are going to do a task, like she said, she's a introvert, but she has to go and talk to people as a realtor. She has to go and generate leads. And so she struggles with that. How does she overcome that personality? She called it like a defect, but it's just your personality. And effectively, I said, what you want to do is you actually want to associate pleasure to the behaviors that need to be done that right now you don't necessarily enjoy. And so, for example, what I did was I'm aware my personality type, although I'm introverted, something I do enjoy doing, which is clear right now on the camera, is I've learned to enjoy live streaming. I used to get very nervous about being in front of a camera. In fact, if you try to find photos and videos of me before the age of 19, they very rarely exist. I just came from my childhood home. There's not a lot of photos of me. There's not a lot of videos of me. Like my brother and my sister, you can find photos and videos of them everywhere. But I was so camera shy that none of that stuff exists. So as I got older, I wanted to change that about myself, and I decided to revamp myself, and I made myself more comfortable talking to a camera, talking to a microphone. And so I've actually come to enjoy it, and now that activity gives me pleasure. And so when I was cold calling, again, I'm being introduced to a new activity that I don't like because I'm constantly facing rejection. I'm constantly being told no. I'm being told worse than no. And it was still a necessary task that needed to be done because I didn't have a friend like Sam Singh at that moment to teach me how to be better. And so I just was manually dialing my own phone every single day. And because I was going through the struggle and I knew it needed to be done, I started to trick myself into enjoying the task by coupling. I created an association. I coupled live streaming to cold calling. I hate cold calling, but I love live streaming. And so what would I do? I would get on my dialer on my laptop. I would pop open my Instagram. And some of you have been around. Some of you have been following me. Put a yes or put like a fire emoji in the chat if you were following me back in the day when I used to live stream my calls, all of my calls on Instagram, and I'd be on Instagram for hours at a time, just banging away on the dialer. Put a like fire emoji in the chat if you've been with me since those days. And so, Jeff, that was something I did. I linked an associated pleasure, right, live streaming to a activity that I didn't enjoy yet. And before I can allow myself to really root it into pain, I started to link an already established pleasure. So my nervous system, right, like my neurochemistry began to enjoy making those calls. And it's actually to the point now where I jokingly say this, I like cold calling now. I don't necessarily like being on the phones all day, but I enjoy cold calling because I associated so much pleasure to it. And then also I started to get the added pleasure of it started to build my skin thicker. So now, like as I started to get the results of building thicker skin, making money, I was able to, it was intrinsically valuable on itself and pleasurable on its own. And I no longer needed to live stream. However, why would I get rid of it if it was still working and it wasn't causing any harm? And so this is something that I actively did. And even to this day, I still continue to do. A second way that I do this, and Andrew Linder and I, we talked about this past a few months ago when we were doing the Run Across America. So Andrew Linder is the crazy guy that I ran from Santa Monica Pier with to Central Park, New York, over 79 days on the road, 3,000 miles covered on feet. We were doing between 40 and 44 miles of running per day. We raised over $111,000 to fight human trafficking. All of that money went directly to charity. And here's the cool thing. Andrew and I, with running 40 to 44 miles a day, we were on the road for 12 to 13 hours per day. We had a lot of time to talk. And what we talked about was the things, the sort of tricks we do to get ourselves to do difficult tasks like run ultra marathons back to back to back to back. And one of those things is we associate pain to procrastinating. We associate pain to inaction. And we will actually take ourselves to mentally dark places on purpose. I will see things like my home being broken into and seeing my family being held at gunpoint. I will see that image in my mind. I will feel that the way it feels. I'll allow those emotions to overtake me momentarily, and then I will associate that feeling to inaction. And so then when I sit and think about not doing the work and not getting up and not making it happen, even though I know it needs to be done, I start to envision my family in danger, in harm's way. And all I need to do to prevent it is to go do the work. And like, it's not just a logical. Here's the key. It's not just logical. It is emotional. Until you get this in your emotion, you can understand this theoretically and logically. However, logic doesn't move you to action. Feelings move you to action. We all do things for feeling. I said it earlier. I'll say it again. Two primary emotions that control all of our decisions: pain and pleasure. Avoidance of pain, attainment of pleasure. So, Jeff, I hope that helps. And because you're hanging out in the house with me, I'll tell you another example later that I can't share online because it just would not be kosher. So let's jump into the next question. So Joel says, so when you say get 1% better each day, how do you put it into action? I'm struggling with burning out, but I can't let that dictate me. What's the importance of the small steps? So Joel and Sam, I'll let you take this if you got something that you want to add here.
Yeah, I want to hit on this really quick. People overcomplicate this because we always say get 1% better every single day, this, that, and the other. People put it on their phone wallpaper, and none of it actually makes any goddamn sense because how do you track it? How do you do it? Is there a KPI tracking sheet? How do you know what 1% equals? And what if it's 1% today, but 2% tomorrow? Can I get away with doing nothing the next day because I made up for it? The reality is I personally like the ideology. I hate the delivery of the line. And this is a phrase that I love, a term that I love in business. And at high level business, especially in marketing, we call this feedback loops. The more feedback loops, and what do I mean by that? I'm going to dumb it down. It is simply this: do something, some action, do something, cold call, make an offer, comp a thing, do something, and then get feedback, ideally from someone else, on what you did right or what you sucked at. That alone, because a lot of times it's like 1% better and all you do is cold call every single day by yourself in a room by yourself. And I think you eventually would get better, but if you don't have feedback, you won't know what to work on. So a lot of times people just sit in a room and they do work, but they don't actually ever get better because they're missing feedback loops. And this is something I've been studying a lot of billionaires. And the one commonality that I've been seeing with a lot of billionaires, guys, I have an MBA. Like, I studied high level business at school, and now I'm more obsessed with business than ever before. And one really interesting thing about billionaires is they obsess in the beginning of launching a new product, a new service, a new marketing campaign, whatever, getting as many feedback loops in as humanly possible. And so right now, Sasha's in the chat. Sasha's one of the only actual business partners I have in life. And Sasha knows this about me. She's like, she knows that I'm making master classes. I'm creating all these things to give away. And the funny thing is this: everything that I've made, like this, especially this one big project that I've been working on for a while now, this is going to be like the biggest thing I've done to date. I've literally remade the entire thing now 7 times. I've made it, given it to a select few people who I think are above me and I think they've got amazing insight, and then let them tear it apart and then basically make sure that I know it's not good enough. And then I throw it out and I reconstruct it from the ground up. This is something that Hormozi talks a lot about, is just doing it and redoing it and redoing it. And then I'm not going to get into it too much. There's this phenomenal story, Marlon, I'm sure you heard about it, about the clay pots, the pottery classes, where basically the teacher says, hey, 2 groups, right? One group, your job by the end of the semester is to turn in 1 clay pot, the best clay pot you can make, and you only have to make 1. And then the other group, you just have to make 100 of them. And then not only did the group that made 100, they made more, but objectively, basically all of them were better because they had more feedback loops. So 1% better to me doesn't mean just sit there and pound phones all day. Like, because you could do that, get 0 feedback, and after 100 days of doing it, you might be a little bit better. But if you go do 1 call and then sit down for 20 minutes with a sales professional and have them dissect it, right? Get feedback loops over and over and over again, and you do that for not 100 days, but 7 days, I can invariably guarantee that you will have more growth because you have actual feedback. So for me, I'm sorry, like that stuff like gets me riled up. Feedback loops.
I agree with Sam. And what's going to happen is so many people, Joel, are going to not take action because they're worried about taking the wrong action. Tattoo this on your brain. Success is the result of good judgment. Good judgment is the result of experience. And experience is often the result of bad judgment. Experience comes from making mistakes. That's how we learn. I love when people say, "Oh my God, Sam, that's such good advice." My response is always ask him how he learned that. Ask him how he learned to avoid that pitfall. He went through it himself. Ask me how I learned any of the lessons I know. I went through and I made the mistake. So go ahead. You're going to make mistakes. Just keep moving forward. Take action. The biggest mistake is not taking action. All right, let's keep going here. Ryan Scher. Ryan Scher says, for wholesaling, I watched the big 3 episodes. Would you guys recommend to start with directors and then hire downward versus starting with just managers and hire directors later, 2 to 3 deals a month? So, Ryan, are you saying that you're doing 2 to 3 deals per month, or is your goal 2 to 3 deals per month? I'm assuming you're saying that you're doing 2 to 3 deals per month, in which case I would rather see what the revenue is, what you're actually bringing in, because 2 to 3 deals could be, you're bringing in $5,000 a month. I don't actually know, but so this one I'm going to defer to Sam, but when it comes to the hiring process, it really is going to be based on where you at in your business. I like to say 2 points: from the revenue standpoint of where you're at in the business, from the consistency. I said 2 points, but it's going to be more than 2 points. The revenue, what you're making, the consistency as far as how often are you making it, right? Like, did you just have like a 6-figure month, 1 month, and then you're immediately like, we need to scale everything? Or have you been able to duplicate this process? Have you been able to replicate your results? When you're able to replicate those results for at minimum 3 months in a row, then you're at a place where you can start to use that sexy word where people are just like scale, which really means we're going to just grow the thing that we're currently doing. But effectively, I don't know enough to answer this question, so I'm going to pass it over to Sam.
I'm gonna do this because with the limited information I have, I'm going to say I am an advocate of top-down hiring. You know this, especially if you've seen the big 3 episodes. I love that I'm gonna call it that now, bro. The big
I
3,
do like
73,
that.
74, and 80. I like that. The big 3 of hiring. Ooh, that's a good one. Okay. So here's my take on it. With the limited information that I have about you and your business, this is what I'd say. I like top-down hiring. But a director who has a downline of acquisitions reps, acquisition specialists, closers, whatever you want to call them, I love that, but only if you've got the funding, the knowledge, the blueprint on how to actively generate enough opportunity to sustain and occupy their time. Because the last thing you want to do, this is a killer we see all the time, is people go and hire. They have tons of people on their team, and they literally do not have enough marketing capability to fill them with leads. And the number one thing you don't want to be doing is hire a closer and then not even have leads for them or enough leads for them, because they will leave you in the blink of an eye.
Dude, so spot on. Also, the big 3, that's fire. I just scrolled. Dude, Sam, I did not realize how high up in the comments I still am with answering, like finding these questions, and how many more questions we have to go. Because
Yeah, we've been going kind of slow.
I mean, dude, I'm good to go all night. Like, you guys let me know. Put fire emojis in the chat if you want us to keep going, or if you think that we are no longer adding value, just say turn it off. Like, we will shut this off. If I see even one person say turn it off, I will consider just turning this off tonight. Tyler texted me, is like, dude, I asked you a question and I just realized, like, wow, we got a lot of questions in here. So let's keep going. Chris says, I had to get clear. Shout out to Chris Dickerson. Chris has been showing up like mad. He's doing the work. He's consistently. Chris has been, I got to just give a quick shout out to Chris, because Chris is inside of my school community, and I've been watching him show up for himself, for his business, for his life every single day. I mean, the dude, he contributes, he answers questions, he helps other people. When you give him advice, he takes it, and then he will come back and say, hey, this is what happened as a result of doing. Like, he is one, like, these are some of my favorite types of people that take action. They're not just assholes, but they're action takers. Chris says, I had to get clear on my goals to spur the motivation and start doing the work I'm avoiding. Okay, I love that. He was just adding on. Sasha says, bitch voice is loud as F sometimes, though. Shout out to Sasha. So by the way, Sasha, I love your post on Instagram. I love your stories because they are just so freaking real. There are days where Sasha's like, yo, we are crushing it. We're killing it. And then there are days where Sasha is like, I'm being crushed by it. And I love that. And then there are days where she's like, I'm being crushed by it. And by the way, we just closed a new $40,000 deal. And that is
and then she's just like on a hike with her dogs too, like every 5 minutes. It's like it's the best. She's actually like my favorite Instagram to follow, actually.
Yeah, like dude, Sasha, if you guys are not following Sasha, like that's just bonus points. Go follow Sasha. Okay. Now, Kafar, I can't pronounce your last name, so I'm not even gonna try right now. He says, Sam Marlin, what are your tips on how to get rid of shiny object syndrome? Ooh. This is such a good one because Sam and I both, if there's one thing that we agree on wholeheartedly, it's the power of focus. And it's the fact that as a human, as a person, you have a limited amount of resource of the most potent resource you have available to yourself, and that's your attention. Your personal bandwidth is limited. There's only so many things that you can effectively pay attention to and grow in a single day, in a single lifetime. And so when it comes to getting rid of shiny object syndrome, it's pretty easy for me because now that I'm aware that my attention is limited, I treat it like money. It's like, how do I stop being a wasteful spender? Well, I start to pay attention to where my money is going and how much I have. And when I realize I have a limited amount of money, and once I spend it away, I don't get it back unless I properly invest it, I started treating my attention the same way. And so one of the things that I've done to personally help me stay focused is this. I sat down alone with myself and got crystal clear on what the hell I wanted. Not what does my mom want for me, not what do my best friends want for me, not what does the next guru in front of me on Instagram telling me that he wants for me. I got clear about what Marlon wants for Marlon. If Marlon were alone on a desert island, what does he want for himself? If Marlon had to spend the rest of his life with himself, which I do, I have to spend the rest of the life with me, what would make me happy? And so when I started getting clear on that, what I did was the second step, which was I was brave enough to tell my inner circle. I told Sam, right? I told Don Rich, I told Keston, I told Caroline, I told the people who were closest to me. And I asked for their assistance in keeping me disciplined, that when I start to come to them with a new opportunity and I start to get new crazy ideas because I'm visionary, that they would remind me that, Marlon, you told me this is what you want to accomplish and you have not yet accomplished it. And I say, thank you. You're right. I'm going to get back to work. So number two was I always say this. I booby trap my life to stay focused. Right? Sam locks himself, like Sam lives in the middle of nowhere. Like he lives in the farmlands of Fresno, California. Right? It's just like him and two cows. Like he effectively chose to separate from human civilization so he can grow his business. I mean, the closest human that lives next to Sam is about 400 miles away. Like that's how serious he is. He's basically a modern day hermit. It's quite impressive, actually, the level of dedication he has to building a successful business. And so you cut yourself off from the distractions. Like right now, you allow temptations to come into your world. What we've done, and Sam, I'm going to do this. I'm going to actually look at this. I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to show you. I learned this from Sam. So I'm going to go to Sam's Instagram. So I'm going to search up Arch Sam Singh, right? And so when I go to Sam's Instagram, look at what 198 people. He's only following 198 people. What he's done is he's cut off temptation. He's cut off distraction. He doesn't even give himself the opportunity, not only in real life, because look at this. These are the farms he's in. He cut himself off from people. I can't.
You're such a dick, dude.
All right, guys. Sam doesn't live in the middle of nowhere. He does live around people, but it's just so fun to say Fresno's in the middle of nowhere. But he has effectively cut down on the influences he even allows into his world, so much so that he influenced me, where this used to be at about 1,000 more people. I used to be following close to 1,600, 1,800 people. And I started to cut it down because I didn't want to get distracted. I only want to see people who are going to continue to reinforce the thing that I need to focus on. And so for you, Kafar,
can I say this real quick? Dude, I'm so sorry. I want to say this on
Yeah,
that
go.
specific topic. I was following about like 400 to 500 people, like actually maybe even plus, maybe like 500 to 600. I don't know. But I unfollowed basically 400 people in a week. And I had one simple like filter for that. And it was, does this person in the content they're producing is the content they're producing applicable and implementable to my business, my season right now? Like there was people that I'm like following and they're multifamily and I don't care about multifamily. I may like it down the road, but I'm like, I love you. You're amazing at what you do, but it's not applicable right now. And so that was like my North Star. And I was able to clear like 300 people off my timeline. And what's going to end up happening is this, guys, your timeline on your homepage on your Instagram becomes freaking fire. Every single post, like if I'm scrolling and I'm like I don't even call it doom scrolling anymore because like I'm actually learning because everyone there intentionally is applicable and meaningful to the season I'm in currently. Not a season that I was in 2 years ago, not a season that I hope to be in 5 years from now. It's to the season that I'm in right now. You do that, I promise you, you're gonna actually like reclaim the power of social media for you.
I love that. And so this is why I'm going to say this loud and proud right now. If you're getting value from Sam, if you're getting value from myself, if you receive value from the two of us, make sure that you're following us on Instagram and you're subscribed to us on YouTube, and then turn on the notification. Because if you're getting, like, if right now you're in a season of your life where this is giving you what you need, whether it's giving you answers, whether it's giving you inspiration, whether it's giving you a kick in the ass and it's making you get up and finally do the work that you said you were going to do, keep that going. And by the way, when we stop giving you value, when you stop receiving value, not because we're not putting it out anymore, but because you are in a new season. And by the way, you all will eventually be in a new season where you're not getting value from us in the same way anymore. And you'll still have love for us, but you're not going to have mental bandwidth for us. And at that time, I want you to leave. I want you to unsubscribe from me. I want you to turn off my notifications. I don't want you looking at any of my stuff because you need to continue to grow and you need to continue to protect your attention. And so I'm giving you permission right now at the beginning of this, as you are one of my followers, I'm giving you permission to eventually unfollow me and I will still love you. I'm giving you permission to unfollow me and to still be friends with me. I want you to protect your algorithm and I want you to protect your attention. Okay? Let's keep going. That was such a great question, Kafar. And Sam, I love your breakdown on why, like the standard for, or the reference for who you keep on your social media feed. Because to your point, my news feed now has turned into micro learning again, and I'm getting some great posts that I'm learning from, that I'm applying. I'm quite frankly, it's like a lot of it's marketing. Like I'm learning how to be a better marketer because the people I'm paying attention to, they're high level marketers. Now let's keep going here. Don Rich, shout out to Don. Got the podcast studio going. Don says the best version of yourself already exists and it's waiting on you to step into it. To become that version, start by being that version, by doing the actions that you see that version doing. I freaking love that. Don, he's one of the guys, like when I'm broken, when my mindset needs to get fixed up, Don Rich. All right, let's keep going. What other questions do we have here? Joel says, all right, I'm going to bombard the hell out of this live chat. All right, I love this. Patron MBA says, how do I ask questions? You just did. All right, so you're doing it. You ask questions by doing exactly what you did. You drop it in the chat. Ivan coming back in with, how long should a person be in that lonely period? And do you guys even find it necessary at all in the way Lord Hormozi kind of implies he does? Holy moly. I'm going to answer this one because I love this question. Because before Alex Hormozi started talking about this on social media, I think I was the only other person I ever heard talking about it, because I never heard anybody else talk about this period of when I used to use this analogy that you find yourself on an island and it's you and your friends and you're playing on the island. And at some point you look out into the distance and you see there's another island. And you're like, holy crap. And like, not only is there another island, it's filled with golden palm trees. And so when you tell your friends, look over there at that island, they all look in the direction you tell them to look, but they do not see the island. And so you go on playing, but then you can't get this island out of your mind. And like you keep looking over, and it's clear as day to you that the island exists. No one else is seeing it. And so now they're starting to call you crazy and they're telling you to shut up, like stop talking about this island. And you've got a decision to make. Do you trust that you're seeing an island and go swim out towards it? Or do you stay with your friends who clearly don't see what you see? Well, as entrepreneurs, we all decide, you know what, we're going to go check that island out for ourselves. And so we begin to swim out to the island. And in that swim from the island you're on to the island you're at, this is the thing no one talks about, because we all know, go to the island. You know there's gold over there. You know it's real. You've already seen the light. You've seen the island too. No one talks about the ocean in between the islands, the big, scary ocean in between the islands, where you are effectively by yourself, overcoming currents, overcoming drafts, overcoming winds, overcoming rains. There's a season of while you're swimming from one island to the next, you are alone. But what's nice is when you start to get close enough to the island, you do begin to see friendly faces. But in the middle, as Sam would say, make no bones about it, you're on your own. And it's a necessary season, because in that being alone in the ocean season, what you start to learn is resilience, perseverance, and self-reliance. These are inescapable characteristics that are necessary for success if you are going to grow to the point of having noteworthy success like the people that you look at online. If you want that life, these are necessary characteristics needed, and the only way to get them is for them to be forged in the crucible. It's kind of like creating iron, right? Like it needs to be melted and beaten down. There's no other way to forge it. And so this season is necessary, in my opinion. And my opinion is backed by the fact that every person of noteworthy success, of true wealth that I've ever spoken to and I've interviewed on my podcast has agreed that they've gone through what we refer to as the valley of death. And that's what I call that season. I call that season the valley of death, because that's when the old you is dying off. You're alone. Only you can take that journey by yourself. And then you are effectively reborn into the new version of you. And make note, this is going to happen several times. Every time you want to grow, you will enter this season again. Sam, anything you want to add to it, bro?
The lonely season can honestly be the best season in your entire freaking journey, because it's the season that you realize that betting on yourself is the one thing no one can take away from you. Problem with every other season is that every other season you allow others to come in. The best thing about the lonely season is you fundamentally, foundationally prove to yourself that you don't need anyone else. If push comes to shove, you do not need them. And the confidence that you will get, the conviction that you will get, in my opinion, is how people become undeniable. The reason why Alex Hormozi is making tons, hundreds of millions of dollars a year, I get that. And he has a massive team and partners. I get that. But the only reason he's there right now is because he went through the lonely chapter. And so I know a lot of people, they run from that season. They're afraid of it because it feels scary and there's pressure and all of these negative connotations. But guys, if you guys are like me and Marlon to this degree, Marlon, you know this, in animes, there's always like a training arc. And there's always an arc where the main character is basically in some form of isolation, mentally, physically, whatever. And usually what ends up happening when they come out of it, right? They usually come out a little bit more serious, a little bit more reserved, a little bit more stoic. And they walk differently. They walk with this aura of confidence, of conviction. We see this all the time. If you've watched the movie 300, it's like the king, the child king who was sent to go fight a wolf on his own, and then he came back a man. It's the same thing to me in business. The lonely chapter is the best chapter, in my opinion, but you have to label it as such, and don't be afraid of it.
Sam, you know what I thought about immediately? Goku and Gohan going into the hyperbolic time chamber before fighting Cell. And there's Goku training Gohan. And then while Goku is like asleep, Gohan goes off to train on his own on the other end of the hyperbolic time chamber. And this is when he discovers Super Saiyan 2. Right. And like it was just gangster. So absolutely. let's keep it going here because I'm looking at where I'm at in the questions, Sam, and I'm at
We gotta speed it up, bro.
So let's get through this quickly. We'll try and speed round these, but I'm having a good time. I'm really enjoying this. Josh and Laura say, I need to find a QSR, quick serve restaurant tenant operator to lease the restaurant side of 5 convenience stores. How should I find and market to them? So this is a little outside of my range of experience from this standpoint. My first thought, though, my initial thoughts would be to find brokers that deal with leasing of commercial spaces. And I would go right rather than me trying to figure out how to build all those connections from scratch. I would go and find leasing brokers for commercial spaces, and they would be able to put you in contact with those individuals. That would be my best guess.
Yep. That was actually it. There's brokers for everything, and there are niche brokers for every possible niche there is. And the restaurant industry is one of the biggest economic sectors. So there's 1,000% brokers out there. 100%. That one's easy.
All right. Joel says, how are you guys keeping yourselves healthy and strong while you're doing business? I'm going to answer this question because I'm curious to hear Sam's answer because I got no idea what the hell Sam does. But me personally, I keep a routine. Exercise is just a part of my nature. Previously a parkour athlete, snowboard athlete, skateboard athlete. So movement regulates my emotions and really my mood. So effectively what I do is I wake up in the morning and typically I'll go and work out usually around 5:15, 5:30 a.m. almost every single day. And on the days I don't work out early because maybe I'm doing Zoom calls or such super early in the morning, I'll work out in the evening. So I work out regularly. I eat pretty healthy, and I have ambition to live to over 100. So I want to get there and be healthy. Sam, what do you do?
I just look at shirtless photos of Marlon Johnson. And yeah, I found that, if you look at him for about 35 seconds, you'll burn a few calories just by looking at his 12 pack. So that's my strategy.
I freaking love it. All right. Our homie Patron figured it out. We've been working in our business for about 18 months now and can't seem to get ahead just simply working with direct to agent. How much capital would we need to have to invest in a proper system? Okay, so again, definitions, like what is a proper system? What's your idea of a proper system? What does your system currently look like? Currently in the 18 months, how many deals have you done? What's been I have so many questions, right? Like this is to truly give you the answer that you deserve. I need more details because 18 months doesn't really tell me what you've been doing. It just tells me that you've had the idea of real estate in your mind and you made a decision about it 18 months ago. But I have, for example, Tino Luna, great friend, and Nick Newland, great friends of mine. Both of them independently did not get their first deal in real estate. They didn't make their first check in real estate till 18 months in. And most people would have quit before then. Fast forward to where they were in the year 2022, doing effectively $400,000 to $500,000 months of profit to their business. And had they given up before the 18 months, they would have been frustrated, gassed out. But what they were doing up until those 18 months gave them all the skills required to be at that point where they were doing multiple $100,000 months back to back to back consistently for several months in a row. So we just need more information here. Sam, would you agree?
If you've actually been doing the thing for 18 months, you would have results. Even the worst marketing channels, which I despise and I think suck. So you've done 60 deals. Okay. So he just put in the chat 60 deals. So if you've done 60 deals, that sounds like a phenomenal degree of success, in my opinion, right? Assuming that they've closed. Now you have to identify what you're not happy with because your question indicates that you're not moving the needle forward. So I don't know what success looks like for you because for a lot of people, if I were to say, hey, do you want 60 deals in 18 months? They would be like, that is amazing. But to you, maybe 60 deals in 18 months, but you're working 80 hours a week to do it yourself. Right now, it's not as exciting to you. So your question isn't which other marketing channel or marketing system do you need? It's how do I start hiring, training, retaining talent so I can remove myself from the day-to-day of the business? Totally different story. The reality is, bro, we just don't know enough about you. So what I want you to do is this, DM me on Instagram, shoot me like just a really quick synopsis about what your very intentional pain point is. And I'll shoot you an audio message with what I think, 10 deals and 100K a month, bro, then keep doing what you're doing. It's working. If you're doing 100K a month, you're doing over $1 million a year in revenue.
Right. But you know what? You say you can't seem to get ahead, which if you're saying you can't seem to get ahead, what I'm reading in between the lines is you're doing too much inside of your business. So you are too much of an operator, it sounds like, and you have not yet effectively trained or found an A player. Right. And you're typically never going to train an A player. You're going to find A players and put them in position to crush. And so that might be what you need to do. In which case, if you're doing those sort of numbers, I think the skill you need to start developing in yourself is the same skill that Sam and I have learned to develop, which, guys, I'm far from the best business operator out there. I mean, and I say far from it. However, what I have learned how to do is I've learned how to communicate at a higher level, and I've learned how to essentially market myself and create the narrative so that I can attract the talent, I can attract the opportunities that I need. So you may be in a position where you're going to need to start marketing the fact that we've got a crushing team, we've got a crushing system that we're able to make this sort of money so you can attract the right A player to come work on your team, and it can start to free up your bandwidth so that you get your most valuable resource back, which is your attention. Okay.
Yeah, move on to the next one. But Patron, if it sounds like the bottleneck for you is the timing aspect with not having a skill team. The big three, 73, 74, and 80. Go watch those episodes of Think Big. You'll get a lot of clarity.
Yep. And I think that, that's kind of going to lead into even Effie's question right here, which is where would you look for a good integrator and operations manager that would work for ownership and would have the patience to push for at least half a year before that payout? You're definitely not going to find them in the same mentorship programs you're in, right? And this is where the big three episodes are going to rock your world, because we talk about that. The people inside those mentorship programs, they want the same things you want, and they want it the same time you want it, which is yesterday. And so effectively, if you're looking for someone who's going to work for equity, keyword work, you're looking for an employee, and therefore you need to go to places where employees hang out online, places like Indeed, places like Monster, right? So you actually need to create a business that can source and hire. And that's something that Sam has covered in depth. And actually, I know you haven't been on the past episode, so this is something that go check out the big three. Sam, what episode numbers are those again?
73, 74, and 80.
73, 74, and 80. So those episodes. In fact, if someone could do me a favor, share episode 73 in the chat. And what I'll do later, hey Siri, remind me to create a playlist for the big three to make it easier for people to find.
Oh, we should do that with the lead gen series too. We did lead gen mastery for like 4 weeks.
Awesome. Hey Siri, remind me to do lead gen mastery playlist as well. By the way, guys, this is literally how I run my business. I talk at things. I was laughing the other night as I was laying in bed and thinking to myself, wow, when did I start getting paid to talk at things? I love it though. That's my life. Casey Kemp, what's going on, Casey? Casey's inside the community. She was on the call with us last night. She asked, how long ago did this start? I don't know what this is, so I'm going to keep going. I just saw the how, so I'm looking for question words. And if you're asking how long ago did I start in business, I started October of 2019, and on November 1st, Sam will be at his 3-year mark. Joel says, feels like simplicity in this way, but mind overcomplicated it, like Jerry and Jamil, give away, make deals, calling titles. Okay, cool. I'm looking for questions, though. Shout out to Effie, says she's already subscribed. While I find the next question, make sure, Sam, you want to remind them what they need to do in order to win the giveaway? Because I think we already picked one winner. There's already one clear winner in our mind.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So guys, if you are late, because we have 60 people, giving away 3 of these. This book in the last 30 days, the last month, a micro strategy from this book, one tiny little thing, not even a chapter, not even 3 whole paragraphs, one micro strategy from this book made one of my portfolio businesses $117,000 at about an 80 to 85% profit margin, which is massive in the world of business, guys. It's a powerful book. And we're going to give it away to action takers who are engaged in the chat, who actually show up, show out, do all the things. We love you guys. We want you guys to win. And I want to arm you with knowledge that can help you scale your businesses to the next level. So all you have to do is simple. Go to Marlon's. If you're already on Marlon's YouTube, sweet. Just click on his account, hit subscribe, and then the notifications, turn on all of them. And then what you're going to do, screenshot that. Then what you're going to do, go to my YouTube, type in Sam Singh. I come up, I'm the first one. Go to my YouTube. You're going to subscribe, turn on all notifications, screenshot that. Why screenshot? It's your proof. Then you're going to go to Instagram. It's a lot of work. I know, guys. Trust me, it's worth it because you can make $117,000 by just doing this little bit of work. You're going to go to Instagram, share a story, tagging us. Okay, tag us. Show your friends that we're doing this because, guys, we're coming up on 2 hours in. We've never gone this long, I think, on a Think Big episode. I don't think we've ever been this late in the game before doing this because we tend to not want to do giant Q&As because they take so much time. But we love it. We want to be able to help you guys out. So do that. Share on Instagram, tag us. And then by the end of this call, we're going to go ahead and pick at least 2 more people to get some free stuff.
Yep. And this is what we're going to do. We're going to announce the first winner here in the next 10 minutes. So, hey, Siri, set a timer for 10 minutes.
Just talking at things. That's all he does.
Okay, cool. So Siri's timer is going for 10 minutes now. Joel, we're going to answer this question very quickly because we did a Think Big podcast episode on this as well. How are you filtering to find the right people to get around? And where do you start? How do we lead with value? So effectively, this is going to be where you got to do some of your own homework. First, finding the right people, that's relative. Relative to what? What are you trying to accomplish? So step 1, get clear on your goals. Based on what your goals are, then you can begin to identify who has what you want or who holds the key to the door that you need to get through and start to look for that person. You'll be able to spot them once you effectively know what you're trying to create. Trust me, it will happen. So just worry about step 1, figure out what you want. Step 2, find the person who can open the next door for you. And then step 3, observe them, right? Like watch, engage with their content, watch what they're up to, go to their events, read their books, like learn about them, because that will effectively show you how you can add value. Because as you're learning about them, you will naturally begin to see the gaps or the things missing in their life because nobody's life is perfect. And then from that point, when you see what's missing, don't ask for permission to fix it. Just go fix it. Just add the value. If you're not sure what value to add yet, then you haven't observed long enough or you haven't observed with a keen enough eye. And so that will just simply come with time. All right, let's keep going here because we got a lot of questions to get through. Tyler Pudabar says, I love Tyler. Tyler says, question. Shout out to Tyler. Tyler is an awesome parkour athlete. Tyler, I don't see your question, so I'll keep going. But I know you texted it to me, so I'll look here. Oh, all right. So I see Tyler's question, but we got Juan here as well. And he says, Juan says, Sam, can you share what you did the first few days going into weeks, months to have your steam rolling when you first started? What did day one look like compared to day 30, day 60, day 90? That's a pretty good question.
That's a really good question. The reality is day 1 for you is not going to be too much different than day 30, then day 60, then day 90. Why? Because day 1, you should ideally be figuring out which path you want to take. And the reality is no path that you take is going to get you such magnificent results within 90 days that you have then been allowed to switch paths. So the reality is day 1, pick a path. For me, it was understanding that I sound a certain way. I've got a certain vocal quality. The industry that I was in got me really good at talking to people and getting them to want to talk to me and like me and trust me and all these things. So what did I understand? That I could be a really damn good closer. So day 1 for me was actually getting on a bunch of teams. Effectively, I'm saying day 1, not all in one day, but it was effectively getting on a bunch of teams, lining my CRM up with tons and tons of leads. And I spent day 1, day 30, day 60, day 90, basically all the way up until my first 4.5, 5 months, about 8 to 10 hours a day, 6 days a week, maybe about 6.5 days, depending on the week, in a room on Google Voice or on a dialer system, calling to close sellers for off-market deals. I didn't try to become, guys, I've done over 100 creative finance deals. I didn't even think about creative financing until I had crossed 40-something deals. My first 40-something deals, even though I was one of Pace Morby students and leaders, I didn't even think about creative. I didn't even learn it. Subject to was something I learned after my 40th deal. Why? Because I knew I sounded good on the phone, and I knew that I was good at doing cash. So I stayed in that lane for about honestly, about 4.5, 5 months straight. And then I had earned the privilege and I'd pay down the ignorance debt to start learning all these other paths.
Dude, I love that subtle flex right there, right? Like 40 deals, 4 to 5 months. So effectively, Sam was just swinging it around doing about 10 deals a month,
Bro,
which I just
we be
freaking love.
swinging, bro. We be swinging. Oh, okay, I'm done.
I love that. But no, guys, Sam's exactly right. Like your day one, your day 30. And this is the part that most people forget. In fact, I want to read a quote. This has been my favorite quote of the freaking year so far. It's actually on my screensaver on my second screen on my computer. And it goes like this. It's from Alex Hormozy. And he says, business is shockingly simple, but surprisingly hard. The hard comes in the form of consistency. The moment you don't want to do it or just stay in for today is the day that you realize what hard feels like. Overcome. All right, let's keep going. So Tyler's question is found. So Tyler says, same situation, but it's an ongoing deal that makes, let's say, $2,000 a week. Person brings buyer to the table. Should they get 50% for life of the referral, or should it taper off only if they had to make phone calls? I'm reading the rest of it in the chat, or work the wholesale. So he's in another market. So essentially, what Tyler's asking is if he JVs a deal and they bring a buyer to the table, and this is a recurring revenue kind of deal. So he's in an industry where the making that connection is money happening over and over and over. Should they get a portion of the recurring revenue? And this is going to be what I would say is something you want to negotiate, right? Like if I'm the person, like let's say just connecting the two parties, am I going to try and get perpetuity? Absolutely. Right. I'm always going to try and get that because essentially that's like having equity in the deal. However, am I going to let it kill the deal if I can't get it? Probably not, because if all I'm doing is brokering the two parties together, then effectively I'm kind of like a real estate broker, right? Or a real estate agent. And this is like your real estate agent saying, well, I put your tenant in your property, so I deserve rent as well. Now, if the real estate agent could negotiate that deal, then hell yeah, the ball's on that agent. However, typically you're not going to get recurring revenue in these sort of transactions unless you're providing some more value or you're doing some form of management of the other party longer term, right? So there needs to be some continued work typically to make those sort of deals happen, unless you're just a bomb negotiator and you're just getting somebody who's so damn hungry that they're willing to make that work. But an operator who knows their true worth typically isn't going to give up equity for you having just simply done the marketing on the front end and finding them the buyer. But they will pay a fee for that. And they will typically pay an upfront fee in the form of, let's say, a JV or an assignment or a commission or whatever the case may be. Sam, would you agree with that?
Yeah, at the end of the day, from the connector standpoint, they want to make as much money as humanly possible, but they know that if the deal doesn't go through, they make no money, so they don't really have a ton of leverage at the end of the day. You hold a ton of the leverage as well, but you also want to negotiate, because your goal at the end of the day is I'm assuming that you're the supplier, you're the provider on the front end or whatever, right? I'm making that assumption here. I like for you to be generous within margins that allow you to be profitable, stay in business, and grow your business. As like whatever their ask is, the connector's ask is, right? 50%, 20%, 30%, whatever it is, you need to know based on where your business is at right now, where you want your business to be at a year from now, 5 years from now. Does that still make sense? If that number's 20% and you can sustain it, but it's a little bit, you feel it might even be a little bit generous, that's okay. Why? Because that person may go and get you 10 more people. It might get you 10 more buyers that you do perpetual business with. So the answer is truly like, we don't know enough about the business, the finances. You just have to make a decision that I think Robert Wensley, who's a good friend of mine, taught me this. He makes almost every decision he has based on the idea of regret minimization. So what decision I make right now will I regret the least 6 months from now, a year from now, 5 years from now? That's the answer to me.
Love it.
Love it.
Okay, let's keep going here. Katie French, shout out to Katie. She's always showing up and hooking it up in the chats, leaving comments. She said, what's the best mentor/mentorship that helped you scale your business? I'm going to say for me, I'm going to answer this. My best mentor, and my answer is going to be a little bit different than Sam's for sure. My best mentor is a gentleman by the name of Pip Stellick. And it's not that he necessarily helped me scale my business, although he did help me get into business and he taught me the rules of investing, the 7 rules of investing, which to this day I still follow. He taught me how to scale my life. He taught me just how to be the best version of myself. And if I am even 1/10 of the man that Pip is, I'm going to be okay in life. Sam, what about you? Who's the best mentor or mentorship that helped you scale your business?
Give me one sec. My Instagram just disconnected. So
I saw that.
I don't know why. Okay, whatever. We're just gonna keep rolling. So that's a tough one. I'm going to speak very specifically here about scaling my business, guys. I've spent $177,000 to the dot on CEO coaching. That's one-on-one, masterminding, mentorships, and just proximity rooms. And I'll say this and this is not a dig at any of the rooms where I've spent a ton of money on. I just joined a mastermind recently. I'm going to be dropping $100,000 in January on another private mastermind with some huge people. And this is not a dig at any of them or their programs. The best mentorship that I've personally come across cost me absolutely nothing. And it was literally just by following this guy. And like, I know we're giving away the book, but like, if you know me seriously, you know there's no one I quote more than Alex Hormozi. There's no one that I reference more than him. The reason why is because I got into this industry and it took me a year and a half, year and like 8 months to become a millionaire. And then I kind of discovered Alex. And then there was a season where I turned off every voice in my head except for Alex Hormozi's. And I religiously started following everything he said. And I went from basically being this like pseudo kind of millionaire, almost there. And my net worth has since exponentially increased almost every 6 months just by implementing strategies. So for me, guys, I think people are always looking for the next mastermind, the next mentorship. I'm telling you, I've been in almost all of them that are worth being in. And I said this to Marlon literally last week, right? Marlon, I called you before I flew out to that mastermind. And I'm like, no matter where I go, no matter how much money I pay, no matter who's in the room, Alex Hormozi's free content on YouTube still makes me more money and changes the quality of my life over anything else.
Dude, you want to hear something funny? Inside of my school community, I was sitting down and it was literally, this is like how much I learned this from you, right? Like of just not being a gatekeeper and like my first mentor, Pip, just not being a gatekeeper. I was sitting and thinking about how can I add the most amount of value to the people in my school community? And I was like, well, where am I getting the most amount of value? And I was like, it's from being in Alex Hormozi's school community and going through the coursework inside there. So a part of my school community, literally the curriculum is, a part of it is you need to go and create your own schools so that you can get access to all of Alex Hormozi's teaching. Like it literally I want people to be able to drink directly from the water, from the fountain. So I love that answer. Let's keep going here. Effie asked, how much money would a person need to be a whale for Steven? What would the ratio or the split be? Right? Sam, are you saying a whale as a JV partner with 50K? So just for the people who are joining in late, earlier we were saying Stephen Crawford, he asked a question about how to basically raise money for marketing, get private money lenders to fund his marketing, and then it allows him to grow his business. And so, you know, how much money would a person need to have in order to be his marketing whale? You know, it's 50,000. And Effie, when we say 50,000, are we talking 50,000 a month? I'm assuming you mean 50,000 in total.
I think she mentioned that because I at the time said that I have dropped just shy of 50,000 this year on data alone. So Effie, I'm going to say this: it depends on the marketing campaign that Steven wants to run. So if Steven wants to go and get like, you know, a whale behind him or someone who just basically is a funding partner, right? Sasha gives me so much shit for this. She consistently will tell me, she's like, Sam, you realize like you're basically like, my job in real estate now is I'm basically just like a real estate sugar daddy because I just like fund people stuff and they do all the work. It's just like my credit card and like people do all the work now. The reality is this: if Steven wants to go basically find a sugar daddy to fund his business, Steven needs to go find out what marketing channel that is, what systems are going to be required, what that's going to take, what the cash conversion cycles are. He needs to go put all that, kind of like when you're an operator who has a deal and you want to get a lender and you go put together like this pitch deck, right, that has all the fine details on it. Steven basically needs to go do something to that effect for a marketing campaign. And then you should have correlating numbers that make sense. The reason why I put in 50K for the data, because A, it's the best data like there is, and two, there is a large volume of it. And that's basically cost me 50K. And that's just on the data. That's not going to, it's like, we're actually going to scale that up. I'm probably going to drop another 20 to 30 grand on data throughout the end of this year. And then next year, it's probably going to be 6 figures in data costs. But it just depends on that.
Also, by the way, holy moly, I'm sitting here like the alarm went off and we have not given away. So Sugar Daddy Sam is about to do our first giveaway. And I want to confirm with Sugar Daddy Sam that in my Instagram, when I go to my messages, I do see, in fact, that our man Ivan Nadell has sent me a photo of him being subscribed, him having all the notifications turned on, and he has, let's see, does he have a story though? Ivan, I need a story from you, bro. You got to share a story though. So Ivan's got the notifications turned on. Ivan's got the tag.
Ooh, Ivan's gonna mess it up, bro.
He's been commenting in the chat, but I got listen, Ivan, if we're gonna be men of our words, we got to follow to the T, down to the last detail. And one of those details was you need to share on Instagram a story and tag myself and Sam. So Ivan, I'm giving you 30 seconds to get that figured out. We'll answer the next question while you get that sorted, because I know you are a man of your word and you do the right thing. All right, let's see. We got David Smith, and David Smith says, shout out to Tiffany. She just shared a story. David Smith says, in a service business, how many months of operating capital is a good rule of thumb to have to save to bring on the next employee for labor or to replace me in the field? That's a good question. So essentially, damn, Ivan is fast with it. How? That's quick.
Did he do it?
He did it. He sent it to me twice.
Bro, he triple tagged me. I love that. That's great.
Oh, you know what it is? He shared on Facebook, it looks like. So he's sharing on Facebook, not Instagram. I will allow that to work because shout out to Ivan for doing this. So how are we going to do this? We're going to need to get Ivan's information. So Ivan, do this. I want you to message Sam your address and Sam will get that shipped over to you.
Yeah. So guys, first 100 million leads goes to Ivan because Ivan's a freaking beast. Ivan, shoot me a DM on Instagram. And then it's like, no, that was on Instagram. Shoot me a DM on Instagram, bro, and send me your address and we'll get this shipped out to you tomorrow.
Beautiful. But so effectively, how long of a runway? You know, and everyone's conservative, everyone's different. I like to say you want to be able to afford to pay your employee for up to 6 months without them bringing in new revenue to be able to, before you bring them in. Not that that's the game plan that they shouldn't be producing for 6 months, but you should be in a place financially where you can afford for them to be learning the position and figuring out the nuance and building up a pipeline and then converting that pipeline in your business if you're bringing them on from like an acquisition standpoint. Now, you don't necessarily need to spend the entire 6-month runway, but this is for your peace of mind, because when you bring somebody on, there's going to be some, let's call it growing pains, and you may see that your revenue temporarily takes a momentary dip as you go from being a full-on operator to now being an owner and needing to effectively create the environment for them to succeed, not just you. Sam, would you say anything different?
Bro, I was just thinking in my head, I'm like, dude, this guy in Mindset Marlon that was the most tactical answer I've ever heard you give. And so I'm like, I don't think you need me on these things anymore. Marlon's like channeling his inner Sam Singh sometimes. That was great. That was it. That was perfect.
Dude, I literally just asked myself, what would Sam say? I love this name, From Zero to Hero. I know you're not creating any new marketing videos because of the issue, but is there somewhere we can watch the older ones?
No. That's it. No, I may change my mind down the road depending on what people need and what the needs of the people are. But I've done marketing secrets so many times that I don't want to beat a dead horse. And I'm starting to see there's other bottlenecks that are people, because there was, just so you know, there was 600 people live with me for marketing secrets for about 5.5 hours last time. And so the problem with them is I've taught them how to do all the marketing. They have all these leads, but now the problem they're all running into is they're working because like they know how to generate all the stuff, generate all the leads. They're slaves in their businesses now. So now they need to learn the next step, which is the systems, the team building, the scaling potential of it all. So the next masterclasses I have to do have to be able to fit that need. So that's what I'm moving towards. I may come back to marketing down the road, but right now it's something that I just don't want to do.
I love that. And then Steven says, do another marketing secret, Sam.
Steven doesn't give a shit.
Oh, I love that. Okay. Let's see. What do we got here? Is this a question? Earlier, it was mentioned a possibility to gain experience would be to work for a company that's doing real estate investing. Do you know the businesses' names I would have to look for? I'm in Colorado. Jacqueline, that's a great question. So I don't know which business in Colorado is crushing it at the highest level and hiring at the same time. This is where you would start to do your own work and research because you're going to need the vet. Here's what I would suggest as like if I were like, all right, I need to go find the team that's crushing it tomorrow. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to tap into my network. I'm different, right? I'm friends with Sam. I'm friends with like people who are high level and they know the other high level operators. So if I couldn't talk to a Sam and I was totally isolated and I had no cell phone and no internet, I would go to my title companies in my marketplace. I would go in person or even just get on the phone call, but I would go and meet the title agents and escrow agents. And I would ask them, hey, who are the best wholesalers in the county? I'm looking for employment. I'm looking for teams that I can go and work on. And I know you probably can't give me their contact information, but would you do me a favor? Would you pass my contact information on to them? And I also want to let you know, until one of them calls me, I'm going to keep coming back to your office every day asking you to pass my contact information on. Right? And I would say it in a very like jokingly, but also a very serious manner to let them know, like, no, seriously, pass my contact information on, or you're going to see me every day. And I will actually follow through on that threat of showing up every day and asking them to pass my contact information on, because here's what I've learned. People who are persistent win. People who are willing to do the damn thing over and over win. So Jacqueline, that's how I would suggest going about finding the best people. Tap into your network first and figure out who the true operators are. And if you have no network and you have nobody, go to your local title agents and figure out which wholesalers are doing the business ethically, consistently, and at a high level. Sam, you got anything else on that one?
You can rig the deck and look at SEO. So SEO and Google Ads. So in your area, especially depending on the area that you're in, if you are in a big metropolitan, like let's say you're in Denver, right? And Denver is an extremely saturated market. It's a really tough market to be in overall. It's because the big boys play there. We've got like tons of big players there. So when you go and Google, sell my home for cash, or I need to sell my home fast, or all these things, right? These key search terms, 99% of the times, the guys who are constantly ranking and you see their ads first, guess what? They're actually paying the most money. And a lot of those guys, they're dropping 20, 25, 30 grand a month in ad spend with Google just to have their ad there. And so the only boys who play with PPC, which is Google Ads, right, or SEO at that level are the people who are actually crushing it because they can afford to drop 20 grand a month. So that's always a super big hack.
Love that. That's I didn't even think about that, but Sam's absolutely right. That's actually how I used to build out a good buyers list and like JV's list of finding people. I'll just go and see who had the money to pay for Google Ads. All right. So Deborah says, I want to learn more about avatars, best site or book to read. I don't really know of a site or a book. Avatar is typically like a term that Pace has coined inside of his community. So a lot of people hear about like discover your avatar there. So it's not really like a book you can go out and read. It's kind of more of like something that was like, it's in-house language, if you will. David says, I'm thinking 6 to 12 months. I love that, David. So David already kind of had an idea, which I'm proud of David. David's been growing as a business owner, as an entrepreneur in such an impressive way. So super proud of David Smith showing up for himself in the way that he does. I have the work on the schedule. I know if I can exit the day-to-day field work, I can add 10x the workload to the company to take on and run for the labor shortage. And so this is something David and I have been having a conversation about, which is David's aware. This is what I like about David. He's tactical as well, where he knows right now the bottleneck in his business is actually himself, because he knows how to go out and generate leads and go and get business. What happens is he gets himself stuck in the fulfillment because he does welding. So he will go and get jobs, but then he has to also go and do the welding of the jobs and make sure it's worked. So what he's looking for is essentially to outsource and get someone who's going to uphold the same quality of work that people love from him and his company, so that he can go out and simply just continue to fill up the books on jobs. And so right now he's at that weird in between phase where it's get enough jobs to completely fill up your own calendar, as well as he's got one employee working with him to fill your guys' calendar to the point where there's literally no more breathing room. And at that point, when you have more demand than you can fulfill, then you take on the bigger risk of getting the next person inside there, so that effectively when you find a good person, you can keep them busy enough, because that's how the nature of contractors. If you don't keep them busy enough and they're good at what they do, somebody else will get them, because good contractors will always work and they will always be in demand. And so it's an interesting place to be in. Josh calls me the most outgoing introvert in the world. I love that. Let's see. Lee Gia Investing says, after hearing this, I just scheduled a 30-minute daily coffee chat on YouTube to talk about 3 things to be done as accountability call. I'll use the time to document the process as well. So shout out to you, Lee. Sounds like Lee joined inside my school community and is right now, guys, I've been listening to Lord Hermosi, and Alex said, inside your community, give. And so I'm doing something that Sam would karate chop me across the head for, but I'm doing it, which is I'm making the time for all the people who are new into my community that are going through the entire Start Here program from start to finish and are completing it and showing me proof of completion. I am booking one-on-one calls with them where I will deep dive with you, right? I normally charge between $10,000 to $15,000 for one-on-one coaching. I am doing these coaching calls with people for absolutely free. Now, obviously, due to the nature of me doing it free and due to the nature of there being over 500 people inside the community who are actively grabbing at this, you can only book those calls in a 24-hour time window, and those calls get booked up very quickly. So you have to keep checking back in every 24 hours to see if a new spot has opened up. And here's the thing. If you miss that call and you do not show up, you are blacklisted. I will kick you out of the community, because if you waste my time and you don't tell me that you're not going to be there and you booked it and you took that from somebody else, you are blacklisted from the community. But if you do show up, it's going to be the best call you ever had. All right, let's keep going. Whew. Casey's funny. She said, so introverts need to link booze cruising with networking to encourage the confidence to come out. No, but you can link other positive things that you do enjoy. Sydney says she's going to Zoom calls. So I'm looking for any final questions. Here we go. Should someone become the person necessary to run a business before they start it, or let the process of running and scaling a business turn them into that person? So, Ivan, that's like a which came first, the chicken or the egg? And my answer is going to be this. And Sam might have a different answer. This is my personal answer. Be the person first. Be the person, because if you become that person, you will take the necessary action to do the work that will further develop you. See, people make the mistake of believing that because you become the person, it means you instantly skip to level 100, right? Like Ash Ketchum was Ash Ketchum, #1 Pokemon trainer out there from episode 1. Right now, throughout the progression of the show, he became the very best that anyone had ever seen. But I'm hoping somebody got that. I'm really hoping someone caught that. And so effectively, you become the person first, and then you still go out and do the work, right? Like, we're not just going to sit on the couch and close our eyes and manifest good things. Thoughts require action to back them. You need both, not one or the other. All right, let's keep going. At what point would you say someone should switch from wholesaler to business owner? Because I feel like if you make the switch too early or too late, it'll work against you. I could absolutely agree that if you make the switch too early, it will 100% bite you in the butt. Sam and I have a nice general rule of thumb, which is if you're going to be an entrepreneur and before you start buying and holding assets and really starting to add to your portfolio, you need to be producing at least $250,000 in gross revenue in your business annually. At that point, we know that you can reproduce results and you have enough of a war chest, hopefully, as long as you're not irresponsible with your money, to be able to withstand the inevitable shit show that comes with being a business owner. All right. Anything else you want to add on that? We're gonna start like flying through these questions because it's so late.
Yeah, no, we're damn. We got to go through, bro.
Dude, yeah, we're gonna fly through. All right. Ryan says for strictly PPC and PPL, how many FUSs do you recommend starting with per closer? I have no idea what a FUS is, so maybe
FUS stands for a follow-up specialist. It is basically everyone else in the world would know that as a lead manager. Ryan is probably in a certain community that uses the phrase FUS, or the only community that I've seen that uses that phrase. For strictly PPC or PPL, how many follow-up specialists do you recommend starting with per one closer? Okay. Usually you wouldn't typically go for the closer first if you're doing all digital inbound, because there technically won't be a ton of follow-up needed depending on what your sales process looks like. But usually, like, if you're only doing digital inbound, like one follow-up specialist goes a really long way, in my opinion. I don't think you need a ton of them, because if you're doing digital inbound, the reality is you're not generating a ton of leads regardless. You're not generating 500 leads every 6 months. You're probably generating like maybe 100 to 200 depending on your budget. So I wouldn't stress about having too many too soon. I would actually just start with the closer and run the closer for as long as they need to until they start getting overwhelmed with the follow-ups. And then make sure you just have enough lead flow for the follow-up specialists. But I wouldn't stress about that. Start with your closer. You can do the follow-up specialist later.
Cool. Next giveaway happening in 5 minutes. Make sure you are staying live so you can receive. If your name is called and you are not here in 5 minutes, we will move on to the next person. Ryan asks, how immense or minimal has manifestation and visualization played into your guys' growth in alignment with aligned action and intention? I'll answer this. For me, huge. In fact, so large that I was recently just back home in New York for a childhood friend's wedding. And this is my travel journal. This is a journal that I received when I was 14 years old. And I did a 25-day stay in Europe, going across Europe. And inside here, I was reading through my journal entries because I would not only write in it back then, but periodically throughout the years, I would come and find it and start writing things in there. And what I discovered as I was reading through some of my entries is the things I wrote about happened, right? Like I wrote about things and I looked and I was like, oh my gosh. Like, so it was that important to me. I actually brought it back home from New York and it is now in my home, in my studio, because I cannot wait to show this to my kids. What about you, Sam? Manifestation, visualization, that kind of thing? Where's in your spectrum?
Not right now. Not right now. I've become more obsessed with. I have a visualization. I've got the idea of what the future is going to look like. I've just become so obsessed with understanding the work that's going to take to get there. And I actually put the vision aside and I only focus on the work. And my belief right now is that if I only focus on this, that will inevitably happen. And the reality is if I crush this, I don't need to focus on that vision because a better vision will eventually manifest. So different.
I love that. And I'm going to say this to Sam, bullshit, because I've watched Sam. Sam doesn't realize it. I think Sam thinks visualizing is like sitting and like meditating and going home. Sam is a whiteboard god. Like this dude goes to the whiteboard and he will map out all of like the next 100 years. And I'm just like, dude, you take your pictures in your mind and you put it on the whiteboard.
That's true. Okay, never mind. He called me out. He's right.
All right, let's keep rolling here. Hey, fellas, thanks for staying consistent and sharing your knowledge every week. Just want to know, how would one defeat imposter syndrome? All right, because I want to. Such a good question. It's one of my favorite questions because I suffered with it so much, and I'm not going to give that a 5-second answer. So what I want you to do, you're inside of my school community. This is what we're going to do. Next Monday, we're going to go live. Actually, screw that. Saturday morning, I'm going live with you guys inside the school community. Overcoming obstacles is what I call the Saturday mornings. We're going to be doing that at 7 a.m. my time because I still like waking up 7 a.m. on the weekends. We're going to be going live inside there. Bring this question and I will give it justice. I want to know exactly where you're coming from, and we'll do that on a live Zoom call. So make sure you show up this Saturday, go inside the school community, click on the calendar, and make sure you add Saturday's live to your Google Calendar so you do not miss it. In fact, pull your phone out right now and set an alarm for 7 a.m. PST for Saturday. All right, let's keep going here. Ryan Scrope is in the house. I am not seeing more questions. So, here we go. I just started wholesaling. What are the best hours and days to cold call homeowners? Rita, my answer is this: whenever you can do it consistently. This is just like my honest opinion, because there are people who make money at 9 a.m. There are people who make money at 8 p.m. There are people who make money at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And so effectively, the best time is going to be the time that you can do it consistently. Now, if you are telling me, Rita, that you have a absolutely blank schedule, you're fully committed and you're going to do the damn thing, then the best time is going to be calling through what we call green hours, right? 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. The whole time frame, right? This is why we hire cold callers. And this is why we hire people to set, like, we want marketing going out consistently, because the truth is you don't know when a person is going to answer the phone. You just do not know. Typically, people do I find the best luck on the first contact typically tends to be around that 3 to 8 p.m. because that's when people are getting home from work, or early mornings when people, before they've gone to work. I remember during COVID, I had a lot of success in pickup between 8 a.m. and 10 a.m. because I guess people were home more and they were just answering their phones more. But typically evening times, you're going to find that people tend to answer as well because it's post work. Sam, you got any different thing? Your data say anything differently?
My data says that if you're just getting started, call every goddamn minute possible that the law will allow you to.
Right. All right. So we are at the next 5-minute mark. Who do we have that should be getting this book? We didn't even discuss this one. We don't know who's the next person that's going to win this one. So I've got some people inside of my chat whose names I think deserve it. You know, people like, Chris Dickerson's been showing up like crazy. Sidney Nash has been showing up like insane, like bonkers, asking good questions. Dang, this is tough, man. This is tough.
You know why I like Chris Dickerson? Because Chris is someone who I've basically had, like, I don't have a community. I know he's in yours. Chris has been in my DMs consistently chatting with me and building a relationship and keeping me posted on things. And it's like, I'm looking, this goes like far back. And so one other thing that was super kind of cool for me is that he actually sent me a DM just wishing that I was okay from the hurricane that I'd escaped. So, and Chris did all the things on my end.
Dude, Chris did all the things. Bro, Chris is straight up one of the most consistent guys I know. And Chris is one of the guys inside my community that shows up more than anybody else. And not just in a way where he's showing up to take, he actually contributes with some of the most valuable posts. Here's a cool thing, right? This is how you know when, like, thank you, Chris. I know that I'm building a good community now because I come in and I will read community members' posts. Like, so I'll read your post. And I'm thinking of your posts in particular. I will get value because you're taking the time to put them together. However you're crafting them, you're taking the time to make them interesting to read and valuable. As far as at the end of reading it, I'm thinking to myself, wow, that was a great lesson. I'm going to use that. In fact, the other day, I literally tagged him on the post and said, Chris, I'm going to use this later. Thank you for this. I'm biting this from you. I'm going to reuse this later. So yeah, I think Chris is definitely worthy and deserves it.
Yep. Chris, and he's in the chat too. Chris, DM me on Instagram. DM me your address. You are the second winner. You better go make 117 grand in the next 30 days, bro.
Freaking love it, dude. He's going to kill it. All right, let's get the clock going one more time. We got 10 more minutes for the next giveaway. Let's see if we can blast through these questions here in the next 10. What are the lead gen mastery episodes? Brian Ice. So shout out to everybody holding it down in the chat. This is how we know we got a good engaged chat. Deborah says episode 73, 74, and 80. So freaking love that. Alexis Morgan. What's up, Alexis? Shout out to Alexis. I was talking to her the other day and I literally said, Alexis, it is a shame that you and I do not have a single photo together. You're one of my favorite people. And she was like, yeah, we'll fix that. And then literally tonight, about 20 minutes ago, she texted me with a photo that she and I took back in 2022 down in Orlando, Florida. So shout out to Alexis. Freaking love you, kid. And Alexis is crushing it. Here's the funny thing. I was about to say, if you guys don't know who Alexis is, but Alexis brands herself so damn well now that I use her as an example when I'm coaching other people. And I say, hey guys, what does Alexis Morgan do? And every single person without fail will say, oh, she does lending in Atlanta, because she has so effectively harnessed the power of focus and attention. So Alexis asks how to vet partnerships and establish new ones with confidence and trust. That's a beautiful question. And so vetting partnerships is effectively like vetting personal relationships. Here's what I've discovered. Ask questions. Ask the questions that you're curious about, that you want to know the answer to. Because one, you want to give people the opportunity to tell the truth, but also give them the opportunity to lie. If a person's going to lie to you, let them lie. Ask all the questions that you need to know, because with that information, you will be able to go and verify what they've said to you, either verify or figure out they're lying. So if I go and I meet a partner and I'm asking them for their credentials and I'm asking them about what deals they've done, and I want to know all the things. In fact, a question to me that's now important that used to not be important is I like to ask people, how much money do you have currently? The reason I'm asking that question is because I want to make sure that they're not in a position where they are financially stressed. Even if they are, I just want to know. I want to know what's the current temperature of your life right now, financially, emotionally, spiritually, right? Like these are the things that I want to know from a partner, because these are also the same questions I want to know from a best friend. And so the reason I'm asking them is because effectively with partnership, we're getting married. So treat your partner the same way you would treat your intimate partner, and begin to ask those sort of intimate questions, not just about the business, but also about them as an individual, because the inefficiencies in business exist inside of the humans that operate them. And I want to find those inefficiencies. Sam, what would you say to this?
I love that. I will never partner with someone who's in a survival phase. Not because I don't love them and I don't want them to get out of it. The reality is, people in survival phases make survival-based instincts, and the reality is, it will. When you're in survival, you will self-rationalize and justify screwing people over because you're in survival. It's just the way it is. So I don't work with people who are in survival in that phase of their journey yet. I will give you advice and hope you get out of it. But me, first and foremost, above all else, core values. Above all else. It's like, you need to know what your core values are. You need to know how heavy an emphasis do you have. Like for me, integrity and honor are the most important things. I've said this on stage, and I will never not say this on stage if I can get the chance. To me, the most important 5-letter word on earth is honor. It's HONOR. To me, it's the most important thing. And so I love that Marlon said he actually gives them a chance to basically lie to them. I kind of do something very similar, where I will actually overgive and actually leave you in a circumstance where you could actually receive how much I've given to you, walk off, and like kind of walk away scot-free, even though you know what you did was unethical. I intentionally create those circumstances with people that I potentially partner with to see if they will screw me over. So like I've shared bank accounts with people and like put a ton of money in there and just like not log into the bank account for like 3 months and just see what happens. And the best partners are ones I come back, the bank account got bigger and like this, that, and the other. So it's like, I love that core, but at the end of the day, core values right off the bat. It's the biggest indicator for me.
Yep. And just quite frankly, feeling, do you feel that you can be open and honest with them? Right. Like I personally like, and this is just my opinion. I nowadays in the past, like I used to try to hide what I considered were my weaknesses. Like just, it wasn't even like hide it. It was more like I just didn't want to bring it up, like whatever issues or challenges I was experiencing. But now I put it out there from the very beginning. This is just me personally, because again, if you are going to wound me, if you're a snake, I want to know sooner, not later. That's the way I look at it. So very much like how Sam does this like test where he'll put this out there and see if you're going to take, I will do the same thing. I'm going to tell you where my soft spot on my belly is to see if you go for it, if you go to try and kick it. Because you're only ever going to kick it once. Okay, let's keep going here. We got Me Baraka Jordan says, at what point would you say someone should switch from, oh, we answered this one, didn't we? Yep, we did. I'm an EMD lender. What's the best way to make connections to keep deals coming in? Laura, That's going to be the rule of 100. Every day you need to do 100 new outreaches, right? And so there's this really awesome book that this beautiful brown man is giving away tonight on the podcast, which maybe you might win because you have been doing all the things. Laura Byers, you already subscribed, you turned on the notifications, you tagged us. So maybe you might be the next winner. But in that book, it actually shows you how to generate leads for your EMD lending business. And it's called the rule of 100, which essentially means every day you are reaching out to 100 new people. And believe me when I say you have those people already. You have access to them. If you have a Facebook account and if you have access to the internet, you have access to all the people that you need to make yourself fantastically wealthy. All right. Let's see. What separated you guys from your competition, and what separates you from your competition? What separated you in your starts? I'll tell you what separates me from my competition is the fact that it's persistence. Actually, I was going to give like some cool answer, but the basic answer is just consistency. I actually jokingly say this all the time that I have zero natural innate talents that I'm aware of. Like there's never been something where I picked up like, and I was a prodigy at something and it just started working right away. My superpower has been, I will just keep doing it until it works and until people think it was natural. And so that's my superpower and I'm going with it. What about you, Sam?
I say number one, we've stayed in the game. I think we're out of the cohort that started when we started around the same time, right? That we came up with. You and I had talked about this recently. That it's like, bro, there's not many of us around from that cohort who haven't fallen out of the game, gone bankrupt, defaulted on a ton of loans, basically just like got wiped out of the game. Number one, he's right. We've just stayed in the damn game. Now, here's what I want to say. If you look at every one of us who's here right now who stayed in the game, but if you want to look at us 5 years from now and see why me and Marlon are going to be farther than all of those people 5 years from now who are where we're at right now, it's simply because Marlon and I currently are obsessed with making decisions that maintain our integrity and our core values for the next 5 years, 10 years, for the rest of our lives, honestly. And so I think that we got here because of consistency, but I think we're going to scale past everyone else because we are now at a point where we are routinely saying no to things that are out of alignment with core values. We don't go online and say things that aren't true. We don't exaggerate the truth. We don't do this, that, or the other, because our game is not only how do we stay in the game, but how do we win the infinite game? And so that's my answer.
You know, it's funny. I'm finally, for the first time, reading. Let me not say reading it. I got the book. All right. Sometimes I just get the book and put it on my shelf. The Infinite Game by Simon Sinek, because I quote it all the time as being an infinite player. And so I love that you just brought that up. Joel says, so when talking to agents, how do you appeal to them in a market like today? Also seeing that there are other ways we can use them, like referrals and people and contractors. How do you make solid offers? Joel, doesn't matter. Like our business, here's the beautiful thing, guys. Our business does not change whether the market's going up, down, or sideways. Effectively, we do the exact same thing. We are not buying houses. We are buying problems. We are solving problems for people. As long as your business is centered around finding people with problems and bringing them more value than anybody else is willing to bring them in the marketplace, you will be able to conduct business regardless of what's happening in the marketplace. So, Joel, you make them offers that are good and that fit and solve their problems. That simple. Wayne, he says, great podcast today. I would be more engaged, but my dog decided to use my staircase as a toilet. Wayne, I totally get it. I got a puppy dog at home right now that we are in the middle of training. In fact, holy moly, I got to go get him out of the crate because he's been in the crate for 2.5 hours as we've been on this podcast. But we are crate training, so I got to go get him out and take him for a walk here. Olga says, congratulations on episode 101. Also, that is our timer. So, Sam, I'm going to have you pick our next winner.
Got it.
But I'm going to look for this next answer or next question. So Joshua says 15K on data. Does that include using a web scraper that scrapes the county data and scratches my ass? He didn't say the scratches my ass part. I added that.
that was a distinctly Marlon Johnson thing. Josh, that's not 15K. It's 50K. It's actually 49,000 and some change. No, I don't do the build out myself. I completely outsource it to a company. They do all of the hard work for me, and they do it at a tremendously massive scale. Okay, you go get your dog, and then let me look at our DMs.
Can I go take him out of the? I could go get him out of the kennel.
Of course. Crate. Go.
Okay, cool. Guys, you're gonna hang out with Sam for a minute. I'm gonna go get Dune.
Guys, can we?
No, because I gotta take him for a walk immediately as I take him out, or he'll pee. So it won't be a quick in and out. He's getting crate trained though. He's good. He's stayed in the crate. I took him out for like several walks today.
I'm just so stoked that that's where we're at with your character journey, where you have a dog now. It's like the best thing to me, bro.
It's working. You see how it's forcing me to stay at home?
I know, but I don't know. You got an RV, so you can take the dog anywhere.
All right. So he asked, Patron asked, how do I join the community? Really simple. Go to my Instagram, Mindset Marlin. I have one link in my bio, right? Focus. Click on that link. It's going to bring you here to the Millionaire Mindset community. And inside, you will join this community. And when you do, go to the classroom, go to where it says start here, and get all the valuable sauce.
Bro, I got someone.
Ooh, we got ourselves a winner.
I'm just all these people like Ivan, phenomenal. He always shows up. He's always an action taker. And then same thing with Chris. But those are both guys who I don't have like a tremendous relationship with just yet. And my whole thing is like, how do we build relationships with people moving forward? So my big thing is I'm always looking at people who I think kind of intrigue me a little bit. And I want to see if we can, like, one, are they going to keep coming back? Two, let's just give to them and see how it works. But three, people that I don't know, just a gut feeling. I'm really liking Laura Byers.
It's funny. That's who I was looking at inside of my DMs because Laura did all the things. She liked, she commented, and she's shared, like she did it all. So I'm really digging Laura. I think Laura has absolutely earned this. She's got the notifications on. She's got good energy. She's got an awesome, wicked smile in her photos she shared. So Laura, you are freaking cool. So do me a favor, DM Sam with your address, and he will get that shipped out to you. And then what we're going to do is we're going to answer these final few questions, which there just keeps being more. All right. But Joe Gilharry, shout out to Joe. I haven't seen Joe in a while. He says, which one of you will be worth $100 million first, and how will you get there? I can tell you who's going to be worth $100 million first. It's going to be Sam. And then I can tell you how I'm going to get there. I'm going to marry Sam. And then so this is all right. I'm messing. I'm not going to marry Sam. I'm just going to be his manager. See what Sam's going to do to get there. And maybe he doesn't want me telling his master plan, but this is Think Big. This is family. So I'm letting it all out. Sam has this other company called Only Sam's. And I mean, right now it broke record highs like that. You know how he said yesterday he did his highest month, right? Highest day, over $25,000 in a day. That was his Only Sam's account. So if you guys haven't been following Sam's Only Sam's, I would get into it now before prices go up. But yeah, that's what's going to happen here, Joe.
100 million, massive valuation, massive multiplier on that business.
Right. So Connor asked, I'm in the business of CRMs. What are your favorite SMS campaign workflows for real estate acquisitions? Example, 10 days in hell/heaven. That is such a Sam question.
That it's too in-depth of an answer to give on live. I mean, like, it depends on the outreach campaign. It depends on who your prospect is. I mean, you're going to have a different cadence and a different verbiage style for agents versus off-market sellers. And then on off-market sellers, you're actually going to want to tailor it based on the distress type. So it's like foreclosure specifically, extremely unique distress that needs an extremely unique outreach methodology versus probates, right? Totally different type of pain point from a foreclosure versus a probate where grandpa just died. So do you want to put them through like the 10 days and the 10 days of hell, like just hammering them with SMS? Maybe, but how you do it, the cadence at which you do it, given that it's an extremely emotional time for them, can make or break whether or not you build rapport. So unfortunately, that's such a micro nuance question that, like, the reality is this: go as deep as you can for each specific prospect avatar. Agents, cool. Agents with cash. That's a micro avatar. Go deep on that. Once you've completely expanded on that, agents for creative financing, agents for pocket listings. On the direct to seller side, foreclosures, pre-foreclosures, two different list types, by the way, pre-foreclosures and foreclosures, then probates, then divorces, then federal tax liens, state tax liens. These are all different list types with different types of motivations. The reality is, how deep can you go on each of them before you move on to the next? That's how you maximize it. But I can't, it's really almost impossible for me to give one size fits all answer here.
Love it. I mean, and you still somehow managed to give a pretty damn good answer.
I try.
All right. Joshua Dallas says, when was the last time that a student or a beginner did something that inspired you? Okay, so if I'm not allowed to use Sam, I'm not going to use Sam, because Sam straight up is one of those like outliers that absolutely has inspired me and boggled my mind, because he is the exception to the rule, typically not the rule. And at the same time as being the exception, he still finds a way to find and understand the fundamentals and communicate it back to other people so that they can effectively still take the same shortcuts he's like created. So that's really a rarity, is when you find someone who does and then can also like throw the ladder back effectively enough for other people to climb up and follow through what he did. Outside of Sam, I would say for me personally, another person that came in as a student that surprised me or inspired me, Alexis Morgan. I give shout outs to her all the time because of how young she is. You know, at 18, 19 years old, I met her. And I could just immediately tell, like, okay, this girl is special. She's different. She's an action taker. She's an executor. And, you know, time has proven me correct in that sense. And her hard work, right? Like, I coached her, but she did the work. And then I would say the next person who's really impressed me, I got to give it out to David Smith as well. David Smith, because I've gotten to know David personally, and we've had some great conversations over dinner. We've gone out for hikes on mountains and just gotten to know each other. And what impresses me about David is where he started and the trajectory he's on, and his capacity to stay focused at such a young age with opposing influences in his life that he's been able to overcome. So he's very actively, he's fought against nature to cultivate and ultimately manifest his will into reality. Like, that is someone, like, when David tells me he's going to do something, there's few people who I believe when they say they're going to do something. David's one of those people. If he says it's going to get done, it's going to get done. Like, if he gives me his word, that's it. I'm done questioning him. What about you, Sam? Anyone recent impress you?
I gotta give a ton of love to Alexis Morgan. Obviously, to Alexis Morgan's, I think, to both of us, kind of like a little sister. Love Alexis Morgan. I think she's fantastic. And one big thing that you didn't mention, but I think is one of the most powerful things for her, is I've never seen someone her age embody focus as much as her. And what do I mean by that? She said no to everything else. It's not that her ability to sit down and work on this thing and also have she's had no side hustles. She played around with some stuff in the beginning when she was trying to find herself, but the second that she found that this was my path and I'm going to choose this, she has gone all in on it. And then one thing that I really love that she's done is she's constantly put herself in the right proximity. And with people like Abraham Gray, with people like Bridger Pennington, with people like Carl Allen. And so I think she's playing the game as effectively as you can, as focused as you can. I absolutely love that about her. And I kind of just have to say this, like, for me, one of the things that inspires me is Marlon talks about how he's an introvert. I'm probably even a bigger introvert than Marlon. It's why I don't like going out. It's kind of my thing. And I like being in the lair, and I like working on the business because it's fun for me. And I get to just be with my dogs and hang out. But one thing that inspired me truly about Marlon is his ability to actually care as much as he cares. And like, I don't know, I have like a care battery that will run out. Like, if I'll meet a certain amount of people and they will come to me and share their lives, like, I'm going to try my hardest to love on them. And then eventually my social battery runs out, my care battery runs out. And then I'll look over 8 hours later, Marlon is still pouring his life energy into these people. And by observing that, Marlon and I have traveled across the country together. We've literally gone to islands together. And we've literally been in an RV across the country together. One thing that's never ceased to amaze me is how much he actually cares about everyone that he meets. The randomest people, like the people at the gas station. And I think that's made me a better person, and it inspires me all the time.
Dude, I appreciate that. And I almost just started telling you about Kim, who I met at the airport the other day. And she was a total stranger. And, just being nice to people, being good to people. So love that. Abraham says, bro, you guys are still on. I came
We
back
said
to
we
this
would
channel
be.
to catch up on the replay, but the thing is still going live. Wow. Brain being blown. Yeah, Abraham, dude, we said we were going to answer every question. We said extended Q&A. Here's the thing. We mean what we say and we say what we mean. So I love that. I got to answer this question because I'm not going to ignore any questions. Joe says, what happened to Alejandro Alvarez? So you guys know we had previous co-host on the show. Alejandro is in a season right now where he's got some work to do based on some previous deals. Some people know about it. Some people don't. Effectively, he got into a situation where he's got to catch up on work to pay back some lenders on some deals that went bad. So Alejandro decided that in this season of life, he needs to put his full focus towards that work, and he's working on that. So personally, thank you for reminding me, Joe. I actually need to give him a call and catch up on him to see how he's doing, to see what support I can give him, because at the end of the day, he's a friend of mine and I love the man. So I'm going to check on him and see how he's doing. What else do we got? Shout out to Maj. Yo, what's up? Good to see my favorite brown men. No homo. So shout out to Maj, brand new dad. Congratulations, Maj. We love you, bro. Love seeing what you're doing. Love seeing the content you're putting out. Love seeing your baby, your new family. So, just nothing but love going out to you, brother. Let's see.
People, they're not even saying no homo anymore. Like, if you've been seeing it on the internet, they say no Diddy now. It's like the best thing ever.
Oh, no way. That's funny. I got so many questions about the Diddy thing. As someone new to real estate investing, how can I determine the best time to purchase a self-storage facility? What key factors should I be aware of before making that decision? That's a great question. I don't know enough about self-storage to be the expert to give the answer. I do have a school of thought around if you're truly committed and you're in a place where you can buy yourself enough of a runway, maybe you have a W-2 or maybe you have whatever, and you've got a strong operator that you're working with, you can skip all the other, like you can skip residential and go straight to commercial. I do know friends who have never dabbled in residential ever and gone straight into commercial, but just be aware that there's a good chance that your runway, statistically speaking, will be a lot longer before you get a good deal done and executed on before you start. I'm always a fan of generate active income, though, regardless of what investment vehicle you use, because you want to have what we call a war chest. This is just reserve funds for the oh shit funds, right? Like it's when something happened, when shit's inevitably going to hit the fan, because it always will. You want to be in a place where you're secure to withstand that. And that looks like, to me, everyone is different. We all have investor profiles. My risk tolerance is I want at least 6 months of reserve capital to be able to continue living my life and weather the storm. Anything you want to add on that, Sam?
As someone who's probably about to go under contract on a self-storage facility myself here in the next couple of weeks, ideally, on a big one, not even like a small, medium-sized one. It'll be my first one, but it'll be a freaking big one. And as soon as I do, I'm probably sure Marlon's going to come and buy it with me. The reality is I'm looking at the numbers, and I'm actually going to do a deep dive on underwriting tonight. It's expensive. And so all the same people look at big things like self-storage and they're like, oh, there's no tenant. It's better. It's that, blah, 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 blah. Right? Cool. The reality is debt is still debt. And if you can't make the money because something happens, the oh shit scenario happens, it's not $1,200 for a PITI mortgage on a single family home that's at the median kind of price. It's a big facility that costs millions of dollars. So a month of vacancy doesn't equal $1,200, $1,300, $1,400. It can be $10,000, $20,000, $30,000. So I love people who audaciously want to go and chase the big things, but I don't know you well enough to be able to know what your circumstances are. But I would say this, you need to be well-equipped, well-handled, and well-capitalized to go play ball at those big games if you are going to succeed. So either you have the money or someone else behind you has it.
And that's reality. And so we, my friend, have made it to the bottom of the questions. We have finally we've got through. So first off, thank you every single one of you for being here tonight and asking. This podcast happened because of you guys, right? Like us being at episode 101 is mind-blowing to me because effectively bro, we gotta do another special episode next week. I just realized.
We do?
No. We got a little bit of time. There's 52 weeks in a year. That means episode 104 is going to be our 2-year anniversary.
Okay. Okay.
So episode 104, we will do something special there because I just had that realization. I really want to say thank you all for being here. Thank you to our winners tonight, Ivan. Thank you to Chris, and thank you to Laura. Really appreciate you guys holding it down. Appreciate everybody sharing on Instagram, sharing on social media. The podcast is growing. I mean, tonight was one of the largest audiences we've had, and you guys stuck around with us for 3 hours. This was a 3-hour live. So do me a favor. This is going to be the last ask. If you haven't done so already, make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you like and go and watch the previous episodes. If you're getting value from us and you're new to the channel, I want you to get fully immersed in this sort of content, get fully immersed in the lessons. If we're bringing you value, go full in on the immersion and go and rewatch the previous videos, because you're going to get into a season right now where if we're bringing you value, lock into that and take action. Now, don't just be a consumer of information, act on it. Your information's only as good as your actions with it. But that's going to be my big ask, is that as you subscribe to the channel, you go and consume the content and utilize it, leverage it to serve you. Finally, here's what I'm going to say. Because we've made it on a 3-hour live, and I don't know if we're ever going to do this again, I want to share this with everybody on Instagram. I want to let them know what the hell they missed out on. So Sam and I, we're going to smile for the camera. I want you guys to screenshot this and share this because we just did a 3-hour live. So guys, grab your screenshots. Share that 3-hour live. Tag me, tag Sam, and we'll be back here next week.